honestly, I gotta tell you, man, I can't wait for the NFL draft.
I can't
I,
either, bro.
I mean, it's gonna be exciting because again, Chicago, now that they finally traded Justin Fields, and we're gonna talk about that for a second, it's a slam dunk. They're gonna take Caleb Williams
I mean,
with
they'd
the
be
number
stupid
one
not to
overall
at this
pick.
point.
Hmm?
They'd be stupid not to at this point.
They'd be stupid, but again, I've heard like a lot of people they keep saying with Caleb Williams, could you work with this quarterback from USC? Like with all the red flags. I'm like, at the end of the day, the tape don't lie.
Mm-mm.
The kid can make all the types of throws in the world. I mean, look, I don't really care about the painted fingernails or the outfit he wore in GQ. Can he play? And they talk about how he didn't do well as far as with not throwing at the combine. But we've seen plenty of quarterbacks who skipped out in the combine. We've seen Joe Burrow. We've seen Kyler Murray. We've seen Trevor Lawrence. They still ended up becoming number one overall picks. So what difference does it make?
Exactly. And with like, you hear, quarterbacks score low on the Wonderlick or yeah, like you said, like, have bad pro day showings, bad combine. Yeah. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, a quarterback's tape should definitely be at least 80 to 85% as far as like showing that a quarterback can translate to the next level. So I feel like Caleb Williams' skill set most definitely translates to the next level. I mean, people saying he can't. He's not the best as far as like the reading defenses, as far as like having to scramble a lot, making taking sacks, whatever. And like people, and I'm just like, you know what? USC's offensive line. I've been counting on for me. Been kind of been on the downside the last couple of years. So it's
Their
like the fact,
offensive line. Have you seen their defense? And I've
oh
been trying to tell
man,
folks.
all you got to say about that defense is the Colorado game. You you want to talk? You want to put the USC defense in a bubble, and you want one game to show how bad their defense is? Just put on the Colorado game. They should have blew Colorado out of the building. That game shouldn't have been that close.
Thank you.
Shouldn't have
Thank
been
you.
that close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Watched that game, and I'm sitting here watching Caleb Williams in the first half just pick these boys apart and like just point touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. I'm like, oh man, USC finna bring these boys out there and building. Next thing you know, Colorado gets back to like what within a field goal. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
However, in fairness to primetime Deion Sanders, though, after that embarrassing loss against Oregon, he was like, nah, we're not replicating another bad performance like that. So I will give him that.
Exactly. Yeah,
But
he knew. Yeah, I appreciate Dion in the way, even though some of his games weren't the best performances, he got his guys up to play every week. He gets his guys up to go. And that's what I respect about him as a head coach. He gets his boys ready to go.
and that's why I mean he's great. And Colorado is very fortunate to have him. Even though I'm sad for Jackson State, I'm sad he had to leave. But at the same time, hey, time is the one thing you can never recapture. You got to capitalize on that opportunity, and you got to make the most out of it. So I can't knock prime time for leaving and taking that
I can't.
opportunity.
I can't either. Hmm.
But anyway, folks, welcome to another episode on the Sports PSP podcast. I'm your boy Sports PSP. I got one of the new guys on the panel, BRF Sports. I've known this dude because I've joined him on my man Undisputed World Champs podcast. Champ, unfortunately, will not be here tonight because he has to work and grind. And shout out to Champ. Love you, Champ. Appreciate
Always,
everything that you
baby.
do. Keep up the
Madison,
work.
GA to Madison, Georgia to Columbus, Georgia, boy. We shout them out, boys. All Georgia love here.
Yes, Columbus, Georgia, greatest city in the world to be in. BRF, man, how you doing, man?
Man, PSP, man, it is an honor finally being on this podcast, man. I've always enjoyed our convos, like us, our talks, sports, and just everything in general, man. It's an honor to finally be on here, man. I got number love for you, homie. Number love for you, man. I'm very excited to finally get an opportunity on this, man.
Appreciate you, man. And thank again, once again, thank you to Champ. Champ was the one who introduced me to you. He told me all about you, man. And of course, I wanted to collaborate. So I'm glad that you are on the pod, man. I mean, I know you are great. We got a comment from the comment section from my man Desto PSP, my brother. Much love to you. Appreciate you, Desto, and go check out his podcast and all the stuff that he does on IG and TikTok. Let's talk about some NBA real quick. What you thought about Anthony Edwards' dunk on John Collins?
All right, I'll say that wasn't even the best dunk I saw that week, but we focusing on this right now. That was one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. Uh, that was one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. Not, I mean, the height, the extension, the fact that he hurt his own finger. He dunked so hard.
Yeah, he did. He was complaining about his
He was,
hand the whole time.
yeah, like oh my. And as a Hawks guy, we had John Collins for like 5 years or so. I've seen him posterize so many people when he was here in Atlanta, and just Anthony Edwards is just oh my gosh, he is one of my favorite. He's easily one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. The dude is
By
the
the way, a
absolute.
UGA dude.
The dude is the absolute truth, man. Like my
Mm-hmm.
God, he is so good already at his age. That dunk was just you want just the you just want a one play description of what Anthony Edwards is as a player. Go watch that dunk. Just watch that dunk. The grace, the power, the
I even got a
athleticism.
picture of it right here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like the power, the grace, the athleticism, I mean, just he's a fearless dude. He ain't scared of nothing. I got so much love and respect for Anthony Edwards' game. He is so good already.
We've seen a lot of good dunks from him. This dunk, remember his dunk as a rookie on Watanabe?
Oh yeah, the one on the sideline. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ooh. Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
I gotta
I
ask you
didn't.
something.
Shoot a ball.
Of all the dunks you've seen from Anthony Edwards, is his best dunk? The one on Collins?
Yes. Yes. And it's not really prisoner of the moment. It's just it's just it's the sight. I mean, for me, it's either this one or the Watanabe dunk. But I'm taking this one. I'm taking this one over just because of the extension and how far he had to reach, and how hard he still slammed on that rim. This for me is his best dunk ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I look at him, man, he already has an NBA body. And my man Dessel said this one for sure. When you look at Anthony Edwards' prototypical body, I mean, he has athleticism. 6'4", 220, already came in with a man body. Athleticism, his mentality, he got that swag, he got that charisma. He's gotten so much better as a playmaker and as a passer, and he's improved as a three-point shooter. I think he's one of the faces for the NBA in the years to come. In, I mean, of course, there's Tatum, there's Luca, there's Shea Gilgris, Alexander,
Hmm.
but Anthony Edwards has to be in that conversation because what he
Oh,
can do on
definitely.
offense and what he can do on defense. I've I've said this. If I do a star bench and cut between Anthony Edwards, John Morant, or Zion, I'm starting Ant over
Oh, that
those
for me,
dudes.
it's a no brainer. You start in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it's a no brainer. And honestly, and you mentioned it a little bit. I kind of want to dive on it and talk about it a little more. What
Oh, go ahead.
impresses what impresses me the most about Anthony Edwards is his ability to play defense. I
He
feel
does.
like I feel like his ability on the defensive end, steals, on ball, his ability to block shots, his ability to just not and well also, and like you said, you also talked about his playmaking as well, but his ability to use defense to create offense not only for himself but other players. I think has really kind of taken his game up a notch. To
Mm-hmm.
be able to contribute without having to have the ball in his hands, be able to defend and be able to contribute like that. I think it's just taking his game up to a whole nother notch. For me, it's his ability to play the defense and just kind of make an impact and help. Just create so many more opportunities for his teammates as far as getting the ball back and creating shots. Just yeah, I think his ability. I think it's finally people. people have talked about it a little bit, but I think they're really starting to really see what kind of impact he makes on the defensive end. And yes, he is just an all around he's an all around monster.
He is. I mean, he definitely is, and he's fun to watch. I mean, look, I don't even care whether he participates in a dunk contest or not. I mean, this dude just has it, and he's only 22, 23 years old, so
Which
he's
is
only gonna
scary.
get better. It's
Which is
scary,
scary.
and he's only gonna get better as time comes on, man. I mean, but the NBA is in great hands with players like him, and I'm just amazed because when I looked at the dunk and I looked at how high, I mean, he is so damn athletic. Remember, you saw that block he had? Oh, we got another dude. Luis, man, how you doing, man?
Oh man, what's up, guys? What's up? What's up?
What's
All
going
good.
on, my brother? What's happening with you?
UConn got a very dominant W today in the first round of March Madness against Stetson.
Oh,
I know a lot.
my bracket's screwed already. I ain't even looking at it no
I
more.
don't do I don't do brackets, bro. That's too much
I
stress. I
I
don't
don't
do.
I don't I don't blame you either, Luis. I don't do brackets. I suck at that stuff.
Bro, it's too much. But we got a big W against Stetson today. In the chat, there was haters saying, "Oh, relax, it's Stetson." But like, bro, it's March Madness. Anything can happen. You got to go in there. You got to stomp out competition. Like it's like we've seen 15 seeds knock off one seeds before, so we've got a tough game against Northwestern coming up. That's who we're playing. They went into overtime today. They played hard, but we had a very dominant 30 plus point W today. Everybody looked great,
hmm
back
Um,
to back.
we're gonna talk about some NBA real quick. Did you see Anthony Edwards dunk on John Collins?
That's what did he went into concussion protocol, right? Like I heard no, I heard that was like
I didn't
actually
even know
real.
that. I didn't even
I
know that.
think that's as fun. I'm laughing, but I think that's for real. I think John
I
Collins really went in. I think he did go into CP for real after that.
Yeah, no, I think he went into concussion protocol. Like I'm
I
not trying to
think he
troll.
no, I think he really did.
Uh, Luis,
I think it was
what
like either
what was
that or I
your
think he got his face contused after that.
Let me
yeah?
see.
But what were your thoughts when you saw the dunk?
It's I mean Anthony Edwards might be one of the five greatest dunkers I've ever seen in game. Probably after
Ooh,
that,
boy.
might be one of the
Mm.
He better than
five.
Vince Carter?
Then nah, I think Vince Carter. I think the top three for like in game, like in terms of like yamming on somebody, like or not yet, but like dunkers, like the top three for me that I've seen, like Vince Carter, Zach Levine, and Scotty. Like those three are probably like solidified.
Wait a minute. You from my you love your Heat, right? You're
Yo,
not gonna mention D Wade?
D Wade's in the. I think Ant passed D Wade. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
Ant passed
not
D
even the
Wade.
dunk. Do you remember the dunks D Wade had on Varejao
On
and on Kendrick
Varejao,
Perkins?
that was legendary. But do you remember the dunk Ant did on Gabe Vincent that didn't count? That was
Yes,
probably
and I
one of the
also saw the
greatest
one he
dunks
did
I've
on
ever seen.
Watanabe.
That was it's sick.
hmm
It's
Ooh.
sick. Scotty, I feel like Scotty also doesn't get enough love for his dunking too, because he used to catch bodies like crazy.
Oh
Scotty
yeah,
Pippen.
I mean
That's a
Scotty.
that's a fact. That's a fact.
No, no
Yeah,
doubt.
his end
But
game his end game dunking is was very underrated. That's a fact.
we forgetting about another old school dude, Sean Kemp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
facts. Facts.
Wesley Matthews used to catch bodies too. Like there's a lot that used to just get paid
Yeah.
for just catching bodies. Like Amon Shumpert's another one, another really good one. But yeah, man. No, I'm looking at it's a facial contusion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Facial contusion. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty
That's
bad.
bad.
He'll probably have to wear like a mask or something in order to like handle it. But I'm not surprised with the dunk with Anthony Edwards because he has it. Remember that block he had in that game against Indiana? He hit his head
Hmm.
on the back of the backboard or the side of the
Mm-hmm.
backboard, but he's just that freakish, bro.
PSP, there's just people you don't jump with. You don't jump with that guy, man. You
You really
don't do it.
you really don't.
You don't jump with Braun. Don't jump with Mike. You don't jump with VC. You don't jump with Ant, bro. You don't do it. This is
You
people
put
you don't.
You put your
Mm-hmm.
career on the line if you even attempt to jump with that man, just straight up.
Mm.
Just
I
straight
commend
up.
I commend a man for trying, but sometimes you don't need to try. We will understand. It's
No, you can't you can't.
But
like if
but
Luke if Luca's trying to dunk on you, okay, I get it. Like swat that shit. Like I would have let Luca dunk on me, but this is Anthony Edwards, man.
But Ant Man,
but the thing is, it's like he did. He's not just jumping up. He's not jumping on some ordinary athlete. Like I said, I'm a Hawks fan. This is John freaking Collins is dunking on.
Hmm.
I've seen him posterize so many people in Atlanta. Like the one in the playoffs where he got Embiid and they made the T-shirt
oh
after.
yeah, you stole my
Oh
thunder.
my god, bro. Like let me tell you something. That dunk for me is gonna live forever. Just because the Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals that after that series. So it's like, of course, that I'm a ride with that one, but just my lord.
There's just people you don't jump with,
You
and
right though.
it's just people you don't, man.
You
You just
right.
I
God.
feel,
unless you're confident in taking like getting a charge like Gabe Vincent did on Ant, which I don't think that should have been a charge. That dunk was too good,
yeah.
but just
I
don't do
gotta
it.
ask you this, Luis. Is this the best dunk you've seen from Anthony Edwards? Is this better than Watanabe?
Nah, I think the best dunk I've seen was the one on Gabe Vincent. I think the one on Gabe Vincent
The
doesn't.
one that didn't count? Yeah.
I think it's because it didn't count. But
Yeah.
off of just a dunk, dude.
But no, like I said this to but nah, Luis, man, I'm glad you came in. I said this to PSP earlier, and I might sound crazy, but it wasn't even the best dunk I saw that week.
What's the best dunk you saw?
Jalen Johnson on Austin Reeves, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson on Austin Reeves, bro. He literally cleared that man. He
Jalen
cleared.
Johnson is starting to get into that aura too, where you just don't jump with him. You
Ooh,
just
he's
he didn't even
he
jump. He tried to
no
draw a charge.
no like
Mm-hmm.
he's like a couple of steps in the free throw line, and literally it's like nuts in eyes, like just clearing him. Like my for me, he is my most improved player this year. I might be a little biased, but considering Jalen Johnson was almost, I wouldn't say non-existent, but didn't make much of an impact to arguably being your third best player and putting up the numbers he's putting up this year,
Hmm.
he's my most improved this year.
He's
Mm-hmm.
great. He's playing. He's playing out of his mind. I only
He,
know that because I have him in fantasy basketball.
you a smart man.
All right. Let's get
Hey,
into some college basketball. Let's talk about the men's tournament. Kentucky, they got upsetted. By the way,
surprise
who
me.
was that dude from Oakland that drained 7 threes in the first half and had like 30
I
points?
can't say his last name, but homeboy was a demon.
Oh my God! I
He was
know.
a demon.
Let's
What
not be. He deserves his flowers. Let me
what's
see.
your
Oh
thoughts about March Madness? And not only that, Auburn, they also got upsetted.
yeah,
Hmm.
Yale put them out, right?
Yes, they did.
Oh, I'm
So
trying to.
we are talking about Gockley. Jack
Okay.
Gockley.
Oh, Gockley.
Jack.
Okay. Yes, that.
For
Oh my
30
gosh.
points.
And
He
I'm
had
talking about
9 threes, something like
he,
that.
he wouldn't stop shooting, but they kept going in.
I think he was like 10 for 15 from the field. That's ridiculous.
Oh
Kind of makes you
man.
think like what he would do with in a four quarter setting. Like that he wasn't missing. That man
He
wasn't
Oh,
missing.
wasn't.
Hey,
telling
when I
you.
was watching that game, I said, Miami, I think we found somebody. I think we found somebody. A
Well, you
diamond in the
need
rough
shooters
again.
because you need somebody to help out Duncan Robinson as well. Because at
Yo,
one point, but I'm telling you, man, I'm happy with March Madness. I think it's great. I've been telling the people at the bars, man, yo, you gotta follow some March Madness. Trust me, when March Madness comes, that's when the business keeps popping. And also the women, Caitlin Clark, she it. She is it, man. She
hmm
is a baller. I mean, it's great. I'm glad though, cause we're talking about her more than just as much, if not more, than we talking about the men's. And I think what she's been doing, Angel Reese as well. I mean, it's been great though. for women's
I feel
basketball.
like women's basketball and the WNBA. I feel like they've been needing that one sole superstar that's just entertaining to watch and that can put them on the map. And I feel like Caitlin Clark is that angel for them. Like I truly feel like. Not to mention, you look at the women like she's going up against. Like she has a great supporting cast coming with her these next couple years. Like you got Juju Watkins, you got
Yes.
Angel Reese, you got
Mm-hmm.
Paige Buckers, you got Cameron Brink. Like
Cameron Brink, yeah.
she has really good women like following her too that got some star power. So I'm excited for the WNBA the next couple of years. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be watching.
They, the
Hey,
WNBA,
listen,
they
Caitlin Clark.
needed a
Caitlin
class
Clark
like
is
this.
Caitlin Clark entering the NBA draft this year?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
I'm gonna be watching more WNBA
I believe
NBA games.
the first game is going to be, um, hypothetically, if they do pick Caitlin Clark, which I only say if because you never know with drafts. The first game it would be Caitlin Clark versus Sabrina Ionescu.
Oh, take my money.
That's the first game
Ooh.
of the season.
Take my money. Take my money. I've been a Sabrina
Oh,
Ionescu fan. I've been a fan of hers since she was at Oregon, man. That chick is a beast.
she's shooter,
She
a
is a beast.
shooter, bro.
You
That
saw
girl,
her in the All
that
Star
girl put
weekend against the greatest shooter in Steph, and she did not back down. She didn't
Nope.
fear. She has it, man.
NBA three.
she put
Yeah.
up 26 points from the NBA line. It took Steph 29 to beat her. Respect.
Respect to
No
that woman
question.
right there, man.
Respect.
But I'm telling you, women's basketball, I'm gonna be watching. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna be watching for sure,
I
bro.
will.
I
I
need
will.
to. I need to start watching more straight up
And
because
not
I
just Caitlin Clark though. I want to watch
no.
Angel
Mm-mm.
Reese too. I think
Angel
Angel Reese is
Reese,
gonna be nice.
like the women's basketball, they got some killers coming up, man. They got some serious. I know Paige isn't entering this year's draft because
Page
she
Breakers. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so she announced she's coming back next year, which is good for her draft stock for sure.
Oh,
So that
you
was
love
smart.
it as well because again she goes to UConn.
Hell yeah, I'm all for it,
Yeah.
man. I'm all for it. But I'm excited. It's a great time to just be a basketball fan in general. Like it's great.
Yeah.
It's
And
great.
It is.
I'll say this too for the WNBA, they need they need a class of women to come into the league like what's about to come in within the next 2 or 3 years. Like from Caitlin Clark, the Angel Reese, like you said, the Paige Buchers, however you say her name.
Juju
She's a
Watkins, Cameron
it's
Brink.
Yeah.
Juju Cameron Brink. Dang it. I know she's a freshman, but the girl from the killer from South Carolina, the point guard.
Oh
I know
my
exactly who you're
god.
talking about, yo.
Yeah, like they I feel like the WNBA needed a class like this because they've been getting the WNBA has been getting talent. I mean, of course they have the veterans and they're getting the young women that are coming in there and producing,
Yep.
doing their thing, but they needed a real entertaining, just like they need some more superstar power. And this class that's about to come in within the next 2 or 3 years, I feel can finally, I hope, really do something for that league because I I growing. I mean, I watched like the initial stages of the WNBA when the Houston Comets was like I think they went like 4 in a row,
Hmm.
but yet
I
like
remember the days with Cheryl Swoops and Tina. Oh my
Tina
god.
Thompson,
Yeah,
Cynthia
my
Cooper.
favorite WNBA player ever is Tamika Catchings, bro. She don't get enough.
Oh
She
my
don't get
god,
enough
yo.
love, man.
Oh,
She was a
she was a
hooper.
she's a hoop. That
She's
was a
a
hooper.
hooper.
That
Oh,
was a hooper.
don't forget the New York Liberty
Teresa
play.
Witherspoon.
Yes.
Maya
Yes.
Moore, like WNBA has some hoopers, man. They do
Don
got some.
yeah Don hey
Tina Charles. I love me some Tina
Don
Charles
Staley.
back in the day.
Don
Luis,
Staley
you
could
remember
hoop.
Tina Charles?
Honestly, with this next class of women, I kind of get 2003 NBA draft vibes. Like Caitlin Clark getting the hype like LeBron, and then you got the other like I remember in the 2003 class we had Wade, Bosch, Melo, like following Caitlin Clark, like she's the LeBron, and then her supporting cast like Juju, Angel Reese, like Cameron Brink, like you like that's pretty fucking good.
That's a decent little analogy. I
Like you
can't
said,
argue with it.
like I couldn't think of like you said they needed a class, and I'm like, this kind of like resembles like '03 where you felt like the tide was changing, and now it
Hmm.
feels like with this class, it's like the tide is changing a little
It's like,
bit.
yeah, like it's like, yeah, we might be in the midst of a little evolution of women's basketball here. I'm here for it. I love to see
People
it.
gonna be asleep, man. I'm gonna be watching though. I'm gonna be watching for sure. I might have to get me a couple of jerseys too, cause some of them jerseys bang. I ain't gonna lie, some of them jerseys do bang.
Yeah, man, definitely. Let's get into some NFL. The big news last weekend: Justin Fields gets traded. And he gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers to join Russell Wilson. Now, obviously, the Chicago Bears, they're going to draft Caleb Williams.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
They have
yeah,
to.
yeah. At this
They
point,
must
yeah.
draft Caleb Williams. But here's my thing with the trade to Justin Fields. First of all, Russ is still there. He's
Hmm.
going to be the starter unless he doesn't perform well in training camp and in preseason. Which quarterback heading into 2024 for the Steelers is under the most pressure? Russell Wilson, who is age 35, going on 36, or Justin Fields, 25 years old, who is now on his second team? Because a lot of people talk about that 2022 NFL draft with all the quarterbacks being traded. Look at that 2021 NFL draft
Hmm.
because Trey Lance traded. Okay. You saw
Mac
Mac
Jones traded.
Jones traded for a 6th round pick. Justin Fields traded. Zach Wilson probably gonna get traded. So who's under the most pressure? Luis,
For
I'll let you go
Yeah,
first.
for me, it's 100% Russell Wilson. I feel like Justin Fields has no pressure because the Steelers trading for him said, "Hey, man, like we're trusting you to be our guy for the future. We're not telling you to take over right now." And it's already came out and said that Russell Wilson is a starting quarterback. So you already got the blessing out of the gate. You didn't even have to compete for your job. Mike Tomlin said out of the gate, "You're our starting quarterback. We're riding with you." So they already have plans for Justin Fields to learn under Russell Wilson. The thing with Russell Wilson is, bro, you had two mid years in Denver. Obviously, he played decent last year, but you had two mid years in Denver. You got people calling you washed. You got people thinking you're going to be out of the league probably next year because you're on a 1 year deal. This is the time for you to step up and show people that you can still hang in this league. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be a Steeler long term. He's probably going to be on another team if he does play pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But you're under the most pressure. People calling you washed. People calling you old. How are you going to respond, Russ? Are you going to prove him? Are you going to make them seem like they're right, or are you going to step up and lead this team to a playoffs? You know what I'm saying? So that's where I feel like Russ is at. Can't have people calling you washed, and you're not even that old, bro. You're not even that old. So I feel like Russ is 100% under the most pressure. Justin Fields is chilling like a villain right now.
BRL.
I 100% agree with that. Now I will say this though. Justin Fields is lucky for this season from the standpoint that Russ is with him because he gets to develop, he gets to learn under. I feel like with a guy like Russell Wilson, Justin Fields has the opportunity to really understand what it's like to grow in this position to have pretty much the consummate professional and a guy like Russell Wilson who's going to show up, who's gonna put the work in not only on the field but off the field, how you carry yourself, how to be like a team leader for your organization, how to be a face of your organization, how to class, respect, dignity, everything. People can talk about Russell Wilson all they want. He is the personification of what a true professional athlete is. So he is lucky to have someone like that to learn from. With that being said, Russell Wilson, he is definitely by far under the most pressure between him and Justin Fields because he's got to, because a lot of people have been saying like, okay, yeah, he didn't have the greatest years in Denver, but they're looking at the fact that he had a horrible head coach his first year, and then Sean Payton comes in, and I don't know what the heck Sean Payton was thinking last year. Just like I feel like he kind of mistreated and disrespected homie from day one, and just like it's kind of like he's kind of getting out of a very dysfunctional situation with Denver. So now you're going to Pittsburgh, little more stability. You got a little more stability. You got a guy Mike Tomlin who's not going to treat you any kind of way. Like Luis said, who's basically giving him the starting job out the gate. So you got to come out and you got to show that you can still do this. You got to show that Denver was just another breed of bad, and not just the team, but the front office and the organization as a whole. So he's got to go out there and prove people wrong that he can still do this, that he can still be that dude he was in Seattle, even in the latter years where he was still putting up really good numbers, for the Seahawks. So I definitely feel like Russ has the most pressure and he has the most to prove. He has to get out and he has to really and he because he has to really do it from the jump. Because if he comes out that first month or so and he's not playing up to speed and he's not playing well, people are going to start calling for Justin Fields they're going to start calling for Justin Fields to get in there and play. So Russ really has to get out from the jump and show that he can do this. So I 100% agree with Luis on this. It's definitely Russell Wilson.
I'm gonna shock you. I'm gonna pick Justin Fields under the most pressure. And the reason why I say Justin Fields under the most pressure because Russ, no matter what happens, listen, you're gonna be fine. Cause you got Sierra and you got the kids and you got everything secured. Russ, no, here's why. Russ, when it's all said and done, he's going to Canton. He's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I believe Russ still has a little bit left in the tank. He's not the same player he was in Seattle, but I still think he can contribute. Justin Fields. Okay. I thought before they traded, Chicago should have traded that number one overall pick and get something in return and to build around Justin Fields by getting offensive linemen or other help. In the words of our man, undisputed world champ, hey, quarterback can't throw behind his back. And even though Chicago, they're about to draft Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, as athletic as he is, so is Caleb Williams. And if Justin Fields is having problems behind that offensive line in Chicago, what the hell are you gonna think Caleb Williams is gonna be behind that offensive line? Now, Caleb Williams will have more weapons to work with. He not only has DJ Moore, he also has Keaton Allen. He also has DeAndre Swift running the football as well. But in Pittsburgh, remember they traded Deontay Johnson to our boy Harrison's Carolina Panthers. Yes, Mike Tomlin. How is Russell Wilson going to work with Mike Tomlin? Because we saw Sean Payton yelling and going after Russell Wilson. And Mike Tomlin never has had a losing record under his watch in 17 years as a head coach. Russ, all Russ has to do is just play complimentary football. Russ doesn't need to be the same old Russ in Seattle. He remember he's still getting almost $38 million a year from Denver. And remember,
Eating
Russ
good.
has a little chip on his shoulder after how Denver did him dirty.
Hmm.
How they didn't let him play those last two games. So if I'm Russell Wilson, and there have been questions about my leadership, I come in and I say, you know what? I'm going to go help out Justin Fields. I'm going to go help out this guy. I'm going to mentor him. I'm going to show him all the things to do. Because again, he's their future. I'm only going to be there for like a year. And if I play well, I'm probably going to find somewhere else to play. And if I don't, I'm going to hang him up for good. Because, hey, I've proven I've been in the NFL for far long. I have a beautiful wife. I have great kids. I have things to look forward to. Russell Wilson, one thing you cannot doubt, there is life after football for him. Justin Fields, on the other hand, 25 years old. Hey, learn as much as you can from Russell Wilson and try to develop because Pittsburgh, we saw what happened with Kenny Pickett.
Hmm.
They moved on from him. And if you can't deliver the goods in Pittsburgh, they'll probably move on from you. So I think Justin Fields is under the most pressure. But I understand your points because Russell Wilson, the clock is ticking. 35 years old, ain't getting much younger. Well, I mean, he could still play for a couple more years, but I think Justin Fields is under the most pressure. Let's speak about another quarterback who's under the most pressure.
Mm.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
New York Jets, they've done their part. They brought in Tyron Smith.
Hmm.
They've added to the offensive line. They even brought in Mike Williams to the team,
Yep.
which I like Mike Williams, but the problem with him has been durability issues.
Right.
And with Aaron Rodgers, look, Zach Wilson came in. It wasn't enough. How much pressure is heading on Aaron Rodgers heading into 2024, man?
You go ahead,
He
Frank.
And I know
Aaron
Luis is loving this because he a Dolphins fan.
Aaron Rodgers is bro if you gonna do it, you better do it this year. Aaron Rodgers is under pressure. People are gonna be like, oh man, no, it's come on. What do you expect from them? It's the Jets. The Jets low key have a very talented offense. Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, you're getting Brees Hall back in the backfield. They low key got some talent on that offense, and adding a guy like Tyron Smith, he's not prime Dallas Tyron Smith. Don't get me wrong, but homeboy is still he can still mow you down from that left tackle spot. So Aaron Rodgers, he's under some pressure, and because he's getting paid at his age handsomely to be the quarterback for the New York Jets. So the New York Jets are kind of doing some work at the front office. He's got to do some of what they're doing because I guess my biggest thing is, yeah, I think with Mike Williams is definitely the durability. So it's that caveat if Mike Williams stays healthy. But if Mike Williams stays healthy, they have a chance to be really good offensively. But he's still got to do it, and he's got to stay healthy while doing it. So, Aaron Rodgers, I'm looking at you. This Jets offense is going to go where you go this year. So
Hmm.
he's got to perform, and he's got to stay healthy this year for the Jets to even be relevant, let alone competing for a playoff spot.
Luis?
Honestly, no matter how you look at it, injury or not, Aaron Rodgers was always under pressure because going to the Jets, they already pretty much had a Super Bowl caliber team. They just needed a quarterback. I feel like Rodgers is under even more pressure now due to the fact that he did tear his Achilles and he did miss a year. I think we got to remember he signed a 3-year extension with the Jets, or he signed a 3-year deal. You already
Mm-hmm.
missed year one, bro. That's already out the window. That's already done. You're on year two now. The expectation now was Super Bowl or bust. Last season, it probably would have been, let's see how far we could take it, and then we'll probably add on, in the offseason, see if you get to the playoffs, see if you get to the division or whatever, and then we'll see how we go from there. But now you're in win now mode. You got 2 years left. You got this year, and then you got next year. And on top of that, you tore your Achilles. You are 40 years old. We don't the Jets, the fan base, they don't know if you're going to be the same Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks with the best footwork. Tearing his Achilles, that could affect that. Aaron Rodgers has always been known for his mobility, not being fast, but knowing when to leave the pocket, so to avoid a sack or whatever, picking up a first down. We don't know how that's going to affect you because you're one of the best at doing that. So now they're definitely in win now mode, and they are definitely banking if Rodgers comes back to be the same old Aaron Rodgers. My thing with Aaron Rodgers is once you tear your Achilles, it's not the same anymore, especially at that age. Like I think a lot of people tend to forget, and this goes for every player, but especially for a guy like Aaron Rodgers at his age, one bad hit and you're done, dude. Like one bad hit and you're screwed. Like that Achilles is weak now,
Yeah.
no matter how you look at it. So he's definitely under he's probably the biggest quarterback in the league with the most pressure because now you're under the influence where you need to deliver a Super Bowl in these next 2 years, and if you don't, you're gone. You're done.
I will say this because I live in the Jersey area, not too far from East Rutherford. I live in South Orange, New Jersey, like 30, 40 minutes away from East Rutherford, New Jersey. Boy under a lot of pressure. I'm sorry, the man is under a lot of pressure. First of all, because we know more about Aaron Rodgers other than football, which I don't want to waste my time getting into that stuff. My thing is, look, Aaron, your team, the Green Bay Packers, finally moved on from you, and we're seeing your successor, Jordan Love, playing well. I think Jordan Love, I actually have him as a sleeper for the MVP in 2024. I think Jordan Love is going to have a big time year in 2024 because the best is yet to come. When I look at Aaron Rodgers, if he can, first of all, I don't expect him to be fully Aaron Rodgers. Coming off the Achilles, you're 40 years old. You're with a team now. This is your second year. How are you going to be with the rest of the teammates? The offensive line, they improved the offensive line to protect you. But the bottom line is, Aaron, you're in a division with the Buffalo Bills, Luis's team, the Miami Dolphins, although he is very skeptical on Mike McDaniel as a head coach and Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback. And then when you look, and of course, don't get me started with the New England Patriots. They're in reclamation process. Aaron, you got to get it done. I'm not. I mean, there's no shame if you went to the AFC Championship game. To me, okay, there's no shame because the Kansas City Chiefs, they're still in your way. There's no shame losing to Patrick Mahomes. There's no shame losing to Andy Reid. But Aaron, you want to win a Super Bowl. You haven't won a Super Bowl since 2010. A lot of times you came up short. You came up short in that NFC Championship game against Tampa, and you definitely came up short in the divisional round against the San Francisco 49ers, which you won your back to back MVP, your fourth one.
Got spanked against Atlanta. Like
Of
he's had
course,
multiple chances.
Aaron, it's all on you, man. What are you going to do? Because you are still, I still have you as a top five quarterback of all time. I have Brady, I have Montana, I have Mahomes, I have Peyton Manning, and fifth, I have you. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, I think you're the most talented quarterback. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, I think you're the most talented quarterback that I've ever witnessed. But Aaron, man, you got to deliver the goods and you got to step it up. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure heading into you. Let's get into the Chicago Bears.
Oh man.
Look, they better do right now. RG3, my boy RG3, Robert Griffin III, for those who may not know, former number 2 overall pick of the Washington team, Washington Commanders. Um, Unfortunately, his career was cut short due to injuries. But fun, electric football player. He doesn't. He mentioned about Caleb Williams. He doesn't want Caleb Williams to go to Chicago. When you look at Chicago right now, they've added some pieces. They added DeAndre Swift. They added Keaton Allen to pair up with DJ Moore. They need a quarterback, and I can understand where RG3 is coming from because historically, you look at Chicago, the best quarterback they've had in this generation has been Jay Cutler.
Mm,
And when you look at
mm.
historically the best quarterback, I don't even know who the best quarterback. Jim McMahon? If not him, then who else?
You got to go back
BRF,
old
I'm gonna let
times.
yeah. BRF, I'm gonna let you go first. Should the Chicago Bears draft Caleb Williams?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's for me, it's a no. It's a no brainer because you've. I mean, did you do right by Justin Fields by sending him to a good team? Yeah, you did. But this offense that you've built, and then you're letting him go, like you have Keenan Allen opposite DJ Moore. We haven't even mentioned you got a top 10 tight end in the league in Cole Kmet. You have a top 10 tight end in the league. And then you add DeAndre Swift, who granted he was the Philadelphia Eagles, But he had a breakout year. He finally had his breakout year. So he was coming, to get his coin, to get his bag this year. And saying he signed up with Chicago. So you have you got talent there. And I mean, it's just you need you don't have to cut. You didn't, you wanted to get rid of Justin Fields, but now you're basically bringing in another quarterback with practically, the exact same skill set. So I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, the offensive line is kind of like, it's like average for me. It's not bad, but it's not good. I mean, they have good players on the offensive line, and the defense later on in the year started to come on a little bit, started playing better football. So I'm not saying Chicago is going to make the playoffs next year, but with the right guy at the helm, they could be like a dark horse 6 or 7 seed with the right guy calling the shots. So I think and we've seen recently rookie quarterbacks can come into the league and make an impact. Do we trust the Chicago Bears coaching staff? I don't, but I do feel like Caleb Williams, if he has to be, if you're going to at least say, if you're at least going to show your fans, hey, we're trying to get to the playoffs. Caleb Williams has to be your pick. You have to go with him at this point because you have pieces on that offense. You have a defense that's starting to improve late in the 2023 year. You don't trade Justin Fields not to draft Caleb Williams. I think they kind of you have to at this point.
Before I let Luis have the floor, BRF, what do you say to those who think Caleb Williams is not going to be successful? Because a lot of people bring up the other things that can't come along with Caleb Williams. USC. People will bring up historically quarterbacks that have come from that school haven't had good or great success outside of maybe what Carson Palmer and who else that we possibly know of. There are times I feel like people go too far with Caleb Williams' criticism, and Luis would know this as well. The painted fingernails, the outfit he wore on GQ, and I'm like, what does that have to do with the fact that he shouldn't be the number one overall pick? At the end of the
Right,
day, the tape doesn't lie.
right.
What do you say to people who have criticisms about Caleb Williams in terms of his attitude, his leadership, or personality?
I go back to what everybody was saying about Ohio State quarterbacks. Look at CJ Stroud. Look at what CJ
Mm,
Stroud did this year. He shut up a
mm,
lot of people with that same Ohio State. Ohio State. If it's one thing Ohio State doesn't do is send good quarterbacks to the league. Well, guess what? They got one right because CJ Stroud balled last year. I think something
okay,
similar
he
to that
did.
extent could happen to Caleb Williams. I feel like at the end of the day, you could talk about what he does off the field. To an extent, it may matter, but still, at the end of the day, it's about the tape and what you do on the field. And his game translates really well to this day and age of the National Football League of playing the quarterback position. I think Caleb Williams can be a really good NFL quarterback. Everybody that's just saying he's going to be a bust is like, bro, y'all watch his tape at USC. This dude can make all the throws. He's got arm talent. He's got amazing arm talent. He's athletic. He can make. I mean, he's obviously mobile. He can make plays in the pocket, out the pocket. I mean, he can do everything that's asked of him at the quarterback spot. So the people that are just out now saying he's going to be a bust before he even takes a snap at the next level is they kind of you kind of rushing it a little bit. Let's see what he does first. I think Caleb Williams can be a really good NFL quarterback because I mean, for me, his ceiling is like for me, everybody like I guess the comparison he's getting the most is uh, like I guess you have to say Patrick Mahomes with the arm talent, the mobility, the ability to make these ridiculous throws. So I guess right now that's a comparison, even though it's not fair to him because Patrick Mahomes is like, you know, the dude is what like 6 7 years into a career, and he's already making a case to be a top 5 quarterback of all time. So I mean, like it's kind of unfair on him, but I mean, the tape doesn't lie. I mean, the talent is there. The talent's there. So I just think it's a little premature to say he's going to be a bust before he even takes a snap. I think he's got a shot to be really good.
Luis?
I mean, yeah, they have to draft Caleb Williams. I mean, you traded away Justin Fields, so you kind of have to know you need a quarterback. So you might as well get the best quarterback available. My thing is, I'm with Frank on this. Eventually, narratives die. Like we can only hold a narrative so long, but narratives die. How much longer are we gonna say Chicago can't develop a quarterback? I know the history sucks. Yeah, it sucks, but eventually the goose is gonna lay an egg,
They
and
got
it's
to get
gonna
it right
hatch.
somewhere.
They have to get it right sometime. They're gonna get it right sometime. So maybe it's Caleb Williams. Um, and just like you said, I was gonna bring up the Ohio State narrative. A lot of people kept saying Ohio State couldn't bring in good quarterbacks, and now we got C.J. Stroud probably being an MVP favorite coming up this year. And so what Chicago needs to do is keep on adding to what they have. I mean, that offense that they have, you have two of the best route runners in the league. Those guys have immaculate hands as well. Caleb Williams is in a scenario where all he has to do is just get the playmakers the ball and just let the playmakers do the rest. That's all he has to do. Because if you look
Mm-hmm.
at the tape in USC, it was him creating for everybody. It was him creating for Brendan Rice. It was him creating for his running backs. Like it was him creating like he was the engine of the offense. Now, not saying he doesn't have to be the engine for the Chicago Bears, but he doesn't have to work as hard because you have a Keenan Allen coming off his best year. You have a DJ Moore coming off his best year. You have a DeAndre Swift coming off his best year. You have three good players coming off their best year. Just get the playmakers the ball. That's all you have to do and just let them do the rest. And not to mention that defense is slowly being built up. So now you're walking into a situation where you're gonna have a pretty good defense that they're building up. You never had a good defense at USC. Now on the pro level, you're actually gonna have a pretty decent defense that can make some stops. So Chicago just needs to keep adding, and it pains me that they didn't give Justin Fields another chance because I really like Fields. But for Caleb, I'm gonna give him the same treatment. Just keep adding. Try your best just to make Caleb comfortable. Obviously, Caleb has the talent to extend plays, but he's in a position where he doesn't have to do all that. Just give the guys the ball, and you'll be all right.
I respectfully disagree with RG3. I think Caleb Williams, if now would be the best time to be a quarterback of the Chicago Bears, it would be now. Although I have concerns about the offensive linemen, they can address that in the draft. They have the number one overall pick. They're gonna draft Caleb. They have the ninth overall pick. Now the question is, are you gonna draft Malik Neighbors if he's available, or are you gonna go with offensive lineman? If they can't draft Neighbors, I might as well get offensive linemen. What I like about Caleb, to your point, Luis, you brought up CJ Stroud. Y'all brought up CJ Stroud. I said it before, man. This dude, nah. If you actually watch the tape, he's completely different than all the other quarterbacks compared to Russell, so Dwayne Haskins, um, Justin Fields. The way he can throw the football is natural. He can make those types of throws. He's more mobile than people actually give him credit for. Champ will tell you this all the time. He literally had like 3 heart attacks in that college football semi-playoff game against Georgia. And CJ Stroud, I knew this dude is it. This dude was made for the NFL level. And when I look at Caleb Williams, I would know because before he went to USC, where did he go to school?
Yeah, the
OU.
helmet.
OU.
I'm so
And
upset you guys didn't keep him, man. I really thought y'all were
no, that's okay.
gonna.
We got Jackson Arnold. We got the 5-star quarterback. And the only reason why Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma, because remember, Oklahoma's going to the SEC. He
Yep.
didn't want that
He
SEC
ain't want that
smoke.
smoke.
He didn't want that smoke. And let me tell you why. For those who want to say Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley bears his culpability. Have y'all not seen that defense? I've been trying to tell folks about that defense in Oklahoma. If it didn't work out in Oklahoma, and damn sure it ain't gonna work out in USC because he still hasn't worked on the defensive side of the
It's
football.
horrible.
And
Fact.
it's only gonna get worse for him because he's going to the Big Ten and he's gonna deal with Penn State. He's gonna deal with the reigning national champions, my other favorite school, Michigan, and he's got to deal with Ohio State. So he's going to deal with hell in the years to come. As for Caleb Williams, I get weapons. Ryan Pace, I think he's doing a solid job as the Bears GM. I think if you surround Caleb Williams with pieces, and then moving forward, you better surround him with an offensive line. If you don't, you're going to sabotage this young man's career, and you're gonna have to start back from square one, and you don't want to do that. So when I look at Caleb Williams, and I heard what Ryan Leaf had to say. He said that Caleb Williams doesn't see Caleb Williams as like a day one starter. Eventually, he's probably going to have to start day one if he gets drafted by the Chicago Bears. It's about how you draft him, and it's how you develop him. This seems like the Bears have a plan, and I think with the Bears, you better not screw this one up. You better not screw this one up if you're Chicago, because if you do, okay, how are you going to build? This is your second time you've had the number one overall pick. Last year you could have drafted C.J. Stroud, but you traded to Carolina, and Carolina could have drafted C.J. Stroud, but instead they drafted Bryce Young. And I think Bryce Young will be better in year two than obviously he was in year one. Chicago felt like, listen, this is our second time we had the number one overall pick. There's a lot of comparisons between Caleb Williams to Patrick Mahomes, and we didn't want to miss out on this type of quarterback. Justin Fields, on the other hand, it's best that we move him elsewhere. So I think if you're Chicago, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Undisputed World Champion.
Hey,
I thought
Yeah.
you were busy. I thought
Yeah,
bro.
literally just got off here. I wasn't gonna let you. Hey, you can't. Hey, I can't let you do the show without me, baby. You know what it is.
Salute.
Ah,
how you
Salute.
okay,
doing, my brother?
okay,
Salute.
okay,
Salute.
okay.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Just got from Lynette uh doing their cabling. You know I'm an IT guy, so just got through doing their cabling, got through doing all of their internet stuff, reprogramming a lot of stuff, man. So
Oh, facts, facts. Oh, we were just having a discussion about the Bears, man. They obviously have the number one pick. Of course, they traded Justin Fields to Pittsburgh. It seems like all odds they're drafting Caleb Williams, man. How do you feel? Because you've said it. You've said on the record, hey, quarterback can't throw behind his back. Caleb Williams. How do you feel?
hey, I gotta be honest with you, man. Number one, thank you for letting me come on the last couple of hours. Thank you for
Anytime.
letting me come on, number one. But hey, I gotta say this. They put together the right pieces for this to be formed. They went and got a Keenan Allen. They went and got DJ Moore was already a part of that team. They went and got a DeAndre Swift. They went and did a multitude of things to set Caleb Williams up in ways they did not set up Justin Fields. However, I really do believe they need to go after Joe Alt in the first round, whether that be with the number one overall pick or whether that be with I think they have the eighth or either the ninth overall pick at this point.
Ninth overall pick.
Yes. So they need to go after the offensive line either way. Because like I stated, like you just stated, the quarterback cannot throw on his back, and they really need to get him some help on that offensive line. But other than that, they pretty much set him up great. You got the number one run defense in the NFL. You just got set up with one of the best wide receivers in the league in Keenan Allen. You have a good wide receiver in DJ Moore. DeAndre Swift adds much needed help to that running game. And you're pretty much, this is arguably the best setup we've ever seen any quarterback with since probably Brock Purdy or either Peyton Manning when he came into the league and he had Marvin Harrison and Marshall Faulk in the fold already. So
Mm-hmm.
this is probably the best position you can put any quarterback in order to succeed at this point.
And I've been trying to tell you about my boy Montez Sweat all this
Yes, you
time.
have.
Yes.
Yes, you have. And like I said, man, I will give you your flowers every single day for letting me know about Montez Sweat because I wasn't sold on either one of those guys, either Montez or Chase Young at this point. So for you to have the magic eye in order to recognize that Montez Sweat was kind of in a lackluster situation and wasn't really set up to succeed. I commend you for that, and I salute.
Well, Champ. Well, I'll add this real quick. Well, Champ, you also got to remember too. He was signed, sealed, and delivered to come to Atlanta, but Chicago said, we're gonna give you this pick that's a little better. So yeah, we just gonna snag him and bring him on over here. He was a done deal to go to Atlanta because he wanted to go to Atlanta. He was a done deal. But Chicago's draft pick that they could offer for him was better than what we could. So I mean,
yeah, he was. And that's the reason how PSP told me about that, because I remember like I don't think I want Montez Sweat. He hasn't had a double-digit set. It's like, hey, no, watch Montez, man, because I want to chase. I want to chase Young.
No, but I told you about.
Thank God y'all didn't get him.
I ain't gonna lie.
I told you about.
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I wanted Montez Sweat. I'm not gonna lie. I did want him.
Exactly.
Thank God y'all didn't get Chase Young.
Watch him play. He can bull rush the dude. He can get after the quarterback. He's got long arms. He's a long dude. He can get after the quarterback just like that. And unlike Chase, he stays healthy. He's capable of getting you double-digit sacks, and he had a Pro Bowl caliber season last season. Matter of fact, BRF, Frank, I gotta talk to you about the Falcons. You a Falcons fan, right?
Hey,
Kirk Cousins.
Always. Yes.
Got paid.
Yes.
4 years, $185 million, $100 million guaranteed.
Yes, we
I've
paid
had this
the man.
conversation with Champ, and Champ is, I don't know to use the term with Champ. Champ can speak for himself, certainly. Probably flabbergasted because wait a minute, last year you could have had Lamar Jackson, but you could
I'm
have
sick of that
Lamar
narrative. I'm sick of that narrative. I mean, it ain't you, but it's just I'm sick of that narrative. The reason why I say that, Lamar Jackson got $260 million from Baltimore, him and his mama, out of the goodness of their heart from Baltimore. $260 million. You really think they weren't going to match any offer, any team would have gave Lamar Jackson? They would have matched any offer.
I heard. I was reading about that. Baltimore during that entire contract dispute, like they were like waiting for a team to like give him like a reasonable contract, and then they were gonna match it and take.
They were gonna match it.
So exactly. if a team offered him like $180 million or something like that, they were gonna take that.
Exactly, and then they gave him $260 with $180 million with $185 guaranteed. They were gonna match any offer any team gave out. So from that perspective, I completely understand why Atlanta didn't go after Lamar Jackson. Why go after somebody when you know they're going to match it? And I've seen fans like, well, you could have at least made it an offer. I'm like, for what? So y'all can bitch at the standpoint that they offered him $260 million. That's what get on my nerves about Falcons fans. A lot of Falcons fans, they would have bitched no matter what happened. And they're bitching now at Kirk Cousins, but they're overlooking the fact that Kirk Cousins in a year and a half has put up better stats than Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder in 2 years. They can be quiet. And Kirk Cousins was on his way to having like probably his best year as a quarterback before he messed himself up and hurt his Achilles. I think he got to like, he was like 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 picks in 8 games before he ruptured his Achilles. So he was on his way to having like a all-pro possibly caliber season. So this was the right move from the standpoint that the Falcons have built a team that's in a way kind of, they're in win now mode, and they needed to get a quarterback that could at least kind of provide stability. We have not had since Matt Ryan in a couple years. This was the right move. I know a lot of people are flabbergasted about the price tag, but if you want good quarterback play, you got to pay for good quarterback play. Whether people want to hear it or not, you have to pay for good quarterback play. And Kirk Cousins was the best available quarterback, and he fits the scheme that Zach Robinson wants to run in Atlanta. As soon as the words elite processor came out of everybody's mouth, I knew instantly, okay, they're not going after Justin Fields. Potentially, they might not draft a quarterback. I figured as soon as I heard elite processor, I was like, okay, yes, Kirk Cousins is a bust. And then they ended up signing him, and I'm like, you know what? I can dig this because I feel like Kirk Cousins can unlock like Drake and Kyle Pitts and possibly
Rondell
get some.
Moore. They also got Rondell Moore.
Oh my! I love the Rondell Moore pickup. I think that is so
Darnell
slept on.
Mooney.
I think that is so slept on and so underrated a move because the way Arizona was using him, I think it's exactly the way Atlanta's going to use him. And I think he's an underrated route runner. He's got underrated hands. He's a strong runner as a wide receiver, he can break tackles. Like I think when he was coming out in the draft, Steve Smith said, "Okay, you want to see Steve Smith? Okay, that's me right there, Rondell Moore." And I just think it's a great comparison. I love the pickup, and I don't know, champ. You need to be a little more excited about Kirk Cousins. I like the move.
He's
Hey,
not. He
you
wanted
think
Russ to
Rondell
come to
Moore? Oh, my bad,
ATL.
PSP.
He wanted Russ to come to ATL.
Mm, mm,
I'm
mm,
like Russ, no, don't go to ATL with you and Fitz.
and I'm
although
not even
Champ,
saying it
although
because of
Champ
the
would
and
love
I'm
to
and
see
I'm
Russ in the ATL just to listen to future music.
No, I'm not even saying that because I didn't want to see all of the jokes because them jokes would have been 24/7. No, no, just no. No, I
You know,
mean,
you know how I
I
feel about
understand
this.
why some people felt that way. Me personally, no. I think Kirk Cousins made the most sense as far as acquiring a quarterback.
You know how I feel about this Kirk Cousins move. I'm pushing narratives. I've been saying it all season. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show it every podcast I'm on. Jesse Bates, Defensive Player of the Year,
And if he
best safety
does,
in the
I would.
league.
Hey, Louise,
Best
if
safety in
that
the league.
happens, I will sign, seal, and deliver any drink of your particular choice. It's on me.
I'll
It's
take the
on
rum
me.
chata.
Most.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Hey, hold
But
on, y'all. Give me a few minutes. I gotta get off of here, but I'm gonna get on the desktop. So give me a few minutes.
All right, take your time, man.
I'm a
All right,
Jesse
I'll see you in
Bates
a little
fan.
bit.
You
All
know
right.
who? You know what people are not talking about this Falcons team with the addition of Kirk Cousins. You know what they're really not talking about? This is the most underrated part. The defense can finally breathe. They could breathe. They're celebrating right now because they don't got to
Yeah,
be on the field every
Champ should
damn.
be ecstatic because he kept talking about Desmond Ritter couldn't pass gas even if you fed him refried beans.
Yeah, nah.
he couldn't. I mean, bro, man, look, we literally held the Carolina Panthers to 9 points, 3 field goals, and still couldn't beat them. Do you realize how terrible that is? Do you realize how many just miserable Sundays that Desmond Ritter and that quarterback has put me through over the last year?
Yeah, they put
It
you through
has been
hell.
horrible. It has been horrible. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. The only thing I didn't like about that was the money. I thought we was gonna get him for like 65 mil, but I'm not too much mad about it. I've kind of changed my opinion a little bit about it because guess what? It's like you're gonna have to pay somebody either way. And I'd rather you pay for someone proven than for someone unproven and to be taking flyers on quarterbacks. So Atlanta made the right decision. I can't wait to see what we're gonna add in the draft. They keep talking about Dallas Turner. They keep talking about him. Now they're talking about the wide receiver. I think his name was Rome. I
Roma
can't pronounce
Dunze.
his last name.
Roma Dunze.
From
Roman
Washington.
Duze. I think they're talking about taking him to match him up on the other side of Drake London at this point. And with
Ooh.
that already powerful receiving core, I think that would be great. But we need a pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have an adequate pass rusher. Calais Campbell is on the down. He's not on the downside, but he's a little bit older. He's up there in age. We need a consummate pass rusher. We need a Willie Anderson Jr. type player on our team in order to add to that pass rush. And I think Dallas Turner will be the one to do it. But other than that, man, for me, Atlanta, it is division and playoffs or bust at this point. You don't make the playoffs, we got to start asking ourselves some questions because the thing is, you've already replaced the coach, you have the players, you have a new staff. You got to start asking yourself some questions at one point or another time. Because the thing is, I mean, everything is there, and you have a weak division. The only person you really have to worry about at this point is Baker Mayfield.
Hmm.
and the Tampa Bay Bucks. You don't
Yeah,
have to worry about let's see it, TSP.
I saw him looking for
Ah! That's what I'm talking about. But shout out to PSP Boomer Sooner, man. But the only person you really have to worry about in that division is Baker Mayfield at this point. You're really not worried about
Hold up, sign again, Luis. I'm sorry,
you're
champ.
really not gonna have to worry about you're really not gonna have to worry about anybody as far as Bryce Young, because no pun intended, he's still young. At this point, you don't really know where the New Orleans Saints are headed with their quarterback situation. If they're even going to have a quarterback, is Taysom Hill going to be the quarterback? Is Derek Carr going to be another chance? Get another chance? So you
right.
really are not worried about them. The only person that you really have to worry about that can literally beat you is Baker Mayfield and their offensive side of the ball and a little bit of that defense. But they lost some pieces on their defensive side of the ball as well. So you have to ask yourself, you have to tell yourself if you're Atlanta, not ask yourself. You have to tell yourself division, divisional round, or bust this year. I'm
Hmm.
not going to be delusional and say Super Bowl. I'm not going to be that delusional. Hey, you just missed the playoff 2 years in a row by a hair with this, and every year you've been just hoarding talent. And after a while, it's going to be time to pay that talent. And by the time it's time to pay that talent, Kirk Cousins' contract going to be ran out. The large portion of that contract the next 2 years.
Don't want to be in a
Mhm.
49ers
You
situation.
don't
But
want to
champ,
be well.
but champ, you've been on the record saying y'all could have had Lamar Jackson, but Arthur Blank was like,
I don't understand that either. I mean, my problem with that is this. Here's my problem. People keep saying, and no disrespect to my guy, Hot Rod, he'll be back. People keep
yeah,
saying that, but my problem is this, and I can attest to that, and I'll take that narrative about what he said about, Baltimore Ravens matching everything as far as, the contract, the first round picks, or whatever have you. My main problem was you didn't go after Lamar Jackson, but you chose to go after Deshaun Watson. In the process, alienating arguably the best quarterback to ever grace this franchise. That was my main problem.
mhm.
You not only do not go, you not only made you not only did not make an attempt. You took a flyer. You alienated our quarterback, who put. I mean, people can say what they want to about Vic, and I like Michael Vick, but the person who came to this franchise and made it respectable was Matt Ryan. We had a chance to go to a Super Bowl every single year he was here when he was at his best. We had the chance. We saw it. We saw him go. We saw him in his first 5 years get the number one seed 3 times. So we had a chance to win every single year that he was here. So you go out, you don't make an attempt to go get Matt Ryan, excuse me, you don't make an attempt to go get Lamar Jackson, but you alienate our franchise quarterback in order to try to get Deshaun Watson. And you seeing how that is panning out. And I'm surprised people are not bringing that up to Mr. Blank at this point. Like, okay, we'll give you a pass on the fact that we'll give you a pass on you saying, okay, Lamar would have cost a lot, 2 first-round pick. We may not have had Bijan Robinson. I'll give you that. But for you to alienate our franchise quarterback, the greatest quarterback in Falcons history, in order to get Deshaun Watson was a flat-out travesty. And because remember, soon after that, we had to trade him for a third. We had to trade him for a third-round pick just to get him out of town. That's my main problem with it. Oh yeah, it costs too much to go after to go after Lamar, but you were willing to trade the farm for Deshaun Watson. Mind you, we didn't have nearly as many, and we didn't have nowhere near the talent on that team back then as we do now.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it's flabbergasting to me because you could have had a chance to get Lamar Jackson. And when you look at Michael Vick, can you think of a better comparison of Mike Vick on the field? than Lamar Jackson as far as his ability to run the football and how much. And can you imagine, champ, with Lamar with those types of weapons, with a Drake London, a Kyle Pitts, a Bijan Robinson, and to give him a defense as well, and in
Yeah,
that division, it would
yeah,
be Atlanta for days. I mean,
yeah,
champ, you talk about it. You love going to the Waffle House. Lamar in the Waffle House at the ATL. You would love that.
yes. Hey, hey,
Hey, now you can see
all
Kirk Cousins in the Waffle House. That big ass smile. He just happy to
yeah.
be there.
Hey, now hey, get that all-star special going on. But hey, I'm gonna just say this, man. Look, like I said, the problem I have with them not even attempting to do it is that you were willing to give up the farm for Deshaun Watson. That is a farm that you could have gave up to try to get Lamar. The only piece that we would have been missing right now, would have been Bijan Robinson. But as we saw, we already had a cannonball in the backfield with Tyler Aguilar. So
Mm-hmm.
you already had a running back prior to Bijan that could get you 1,000 yards. That was a power back for the ages. We got him in the fourth round.
Mm.
So
Uh,
you got you got to think to yourself, hey, and uh, you have to think to yourself, hey, who could I have gotten in the second or the fourth round as well? Because a lot of good running backs went in the fourth round as well. So
absolutely.
guess what? I mean, things could have went either way, but for you not to even make an attempt and for you to go after Deshaun Watson and alienate our franchise quarterback, that was pretty crazy, if you ask me.
Yeah, I can't blame you on that. Let's talk about the NFL. Hopefully, we'll try to get Frank back on the show. I got a which one you want. It's regarding
Uh-huh.
quarterbacks.
Good God! Wow, gosh, I almost swore. That's how crazy this question is. What is it?
For me,
What
you know
is
what?
it?
You
What
know what?
question?
I'm
What
gonna go
question?
first. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna pick Jameis. Even though Jay Cutler went to an NFC Championship game, but one could also argue he had a good defense around him. He had Lovey Smith around him. Jameis Winston, there's something about him, man. I mean, the 30 for 30. I mean, we gonna do it big. Jameis does have a personality. People love playing for Jameis. Obviously, he cares about football. Jay Cutler, to me, the knock on Jay Cutler, and I've said this throughout his career, he don't care. It don't seem like he loves football. It don't seem like he really loves football. He don't mind football because hey, he makes a ton of money, but he don't truly love it. Jameis, on the other hand, he truly loves football. I mean, Florida State. I mean, despite all the on and off the field issues that he had, man, dude had a great collegiate career, ended up becoming the number one overall pick. But the problem with him, dude, he couldn't take care of the football. I mean, you threw 30 touchdowns to 30 interceptions. You were second in touchdown passes behind Lamar Jackson, who won the league MVP unanimously. You led the NFL in passing, but you threw 30 interceptions. And they replaced you with Tom Brady the following year, and they won the Super Bowl. I'm gonna lean towards Jameis because I think Jameis does have talent, but dude just can't take care of the football.
Okay.
But I'll let y'all go. Which one you want?
Oh man.
We have to answer this one. Do we have?
Little PSP, you about done yourself with this, my brother.
Can I change this question to who would I rather be? Because I'd rather be Jay Cutler. You know how much money he stole from these franchises, yo. He's one of the richest quarterbacks ever, bro.
oh my God. But I the truth, man. It's true. You
I
want trash or dumpster juice. I don't know. But
this is
uh you know what? just because I love his personality and stuff like that, I'm gonna lean towards Jay. I'm gonna lean towards the W. You know, did y'all eat a W today? I'm gonna lean towards the young, unflappable Jameis Winston, man. You know, he's he Jameis Winston. I I wish that he I wish that he did a little bit more in the league because he had potential. I wish that he did more, but a lot of bad breaks. Didn't have a real talented team at the beginning of his career. Close to the end when he was at Tampa Bay, got better but got worse at the same time. If that makes sense. With Jay Cutler, I will say this, man. You came into the league with a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You had one of the best wide receivers in the league. You had one of the best offensive minds in the league, yet you couldn't succeed because of your attitude. To me, people could say, well, Jay Cutler was talented. There was a lot of talented guys, and he wasted a lot of his talent. To me, he's the modern day version of Jeff George. That's just me. To me, Jay Cutler is the modern day version of Jeff George. He had a huge arm, but he always had this crybaby type of attitude. And not to mention, yeah, he made it to an NFC championship, but there was great questions about whether that was an injury or did he quit on his team, because there's a lot of guys outside of that Bears organization. Although Brian Urlacher came out and said flat out that he was hurt, there was a lot of questions outside that organization, like, was he really hurt or did he fold? Because they literally lost that NFC championship by 4 points. They lost 10-6. So
I'm sorry, Chev. I'm just laughing about that BJ Raji. Remember that touchdown he had, that pick
yeah,
six? But when I look at Jake, I agree with you with Jay Cutler. He had tremendous talent. I just didn't think he cared about football. He went to Mike Shanahan. They drafted him with the 11th overall pick, and he was the backup behind Jake Plummer. And he had Brandon Marshall. And then he goes to Chicago and he reunites with Brandon Marshall. He also had Martellus Bennett. He also had Matt Forte. He also had a young Alshon Jeffrey. The Bears foolishly they gave him a 7-year deal. I think it was like $129 million contract.
Some crazy like that, yeah.
And in 2014, he led the NFL in turnovers. And when I look at Jay Cutler, man, Jay Cutler grossly underachieved.
Right,
Because if
yeah,
he
he did.
actually cared and if he actually took his football career more seriously, I think he could have been a perennial Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. And remember, Luis, he went to your team, the
Yep,
Miami
he did.
Dolphins, in 2017. And he even
Unfortunately.
bragged, good thing about it is I play quarterback, so I don't need to be in great cardiovascular shape. I
yeah.
mean,
What
Tom
what's
Brady, Aaron
what
Rodgers.
what's crazy is we started off strong that year with the year Cutler, because that was the year we were fluctuating between Cutler and Osweiler. And somehow we started strong that year, and then they both just sucked out of nowhere, which I don't know how.
Not
I
just
don't
that,
know.
Luis. The year before, you made the playoffs the year
Yeah,
before.
yeah. Listen, that was such a weird time. Like 2017 and 18 are years I just forget. Um, I'd rather have Jameis Winston, because at least at least from a viewer perspective, if I'm not a fan of the team Jameis is on, it's fun football to watch. Like, you're good. Like, it's gonna get in the air. He's gonna throw it up, but you might have seen something spectacular. You just don't know if it's gonna get caught by by the offense and the defense. And we're bound to see it again this year, because Deshaun Watson gonna go to the bench one of these games, and we're gonna see Jameis football again.
You know what? You know what, Champ and Luis. You know what I think of Jameis Winston. If he had won more games, I hope I want to see Champ's reaction to this.
Oh boy,
You know what if Champ? You know what if Jameis Winston would have been if he had won more games?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
The Black Brett Favre.
Oh,
Because if he had won games and if he got his team to the playoffs multiple and consecutive seasons, we would be talking about Jameis Winston more like Brett Favre, the
Yeah,
gunslinger, because Brett Favre, high risk, high reward.
That's
I mean,
Jameis.
yeah, that's
Jameis
James.
Winston, he would. I mean, Jameis Winston will not hesitate throwing that football because, hey,
Don't
I
care.
mean, he'll throw it into some tight windows. He'll make some mistakes. He'll make some mistakes, but hey, man, he ain't afraid of pulling the trigger.
That's why I'm so excited to see him in this Cleveland offense because I know eventually Deshaun Watson is going to get pulled out eventually. And we see Jameis Winston just lobbing it up to Amari Cooper and Jerry Judy. It's going to be so funny. Or it might get picked off. Who knows? But we bound to see something. we
Hmm.
we bound to see something. Oh,
Hey,
and he's not afraid to run either. He'll try to run you over too.
Yeah.
Jameis football, baby.
hey, Jay Cutler, man, modern day Jeff George, and let's not forget that huge collapse they had in 2000, right before Mike Shanahan was fired, when they went 8-5 and then lost, lost, and went 8-8. Remember that year, the San Diego Chargers was 4-8 in the middle of the season. They was 4-8. They was heading to the top 10 in the draft, and they came all the way back and recaptured and won the division on the very last game.
That's crazy.
That's how and then it got Mike Shanahan fired. They only had to win one game in order to reach the playoffs. One game. Couldn't even win it because of Jay Cutler in the offense. And not only that, the defense collapsed. I mean, and for you to be part of that huge collapse that gets a Hall of Fame caliber coach fired, you definitely, there's some soul searching to be done there. There's a lot
Hmm.
to be desired.
Hmm.
Jay
But
Cutler, man. What a time.
hey, listen, if you watch him in his younger days in Vanderbilt, Jay Cutler could move. He just didn't care. He just didn't care. I just felt like he cared more about if you know what. I'm really with the comparisons. Jay Cutler, NFL, he's the NFL Ben Simmons.
Oh man. Oh
I
man.
really can't compare him to Ben Simmons because
No, no. Here's why I say champ because I think he's talented. He's very talented, but I just don't think he really cared truly that much about football. I think he cared about what more it came along with it, as far as making him a ton of money. So Jay Cutler felt like, if I do well, I'll play a few games here and there. I'll play well enough. I'm still gonna collect my money. Teams are gonna be desperate into having me on my team because what I can do as far as from an arm talent, Jay Cutler at that time he had arguably the strongest arm in the NFL.
That's the crazy part about it, man. You had everything. If you cared about getting paid, you should have won a Super Bowl, my boy. You would have gotten a hell of a lot more money.
and not only that, you had that superstar defense in Chicago. They was
With
just
Lovey Smith as a head coach
with
too.
up. Yes, I agree 100%. And you just go out like a wounded lamb. It was crazy.
Hmm.
Wow, wow, even.
Hmm.
What a
Now,
time to be alive, Jay Cutler. Mm-mm-mm.
hopefully we try to get Frank on the show, but I did mention this. We're gonna do a wrestling one.
Oh
Actually,
man.
we're gonna do two. If Frank is gonna be on the show, I promise him two. But here's the first one, of course.
Okay.
For me, I'm gonna go first. Although a lot of people will bring up No Way Out, and I can't argue No Way Out, the match against Brock Lesnar. Um, it's WrestleMania 20, the match against Kurt Angle, great match. And after the match in the triple threat heavyweight championship match between Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and you all know the other wrestler, I won't bring up his name. But after the match, Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul. I mean, even though people look at him negatively, but him and the other wrestler to share that moment, guys, I gotta be honest with you, I still cry to this day. It gives me, I cry because even though you look at that other wrestler because of what he did, But still, when I look at that moment, it just gives me tears because I think about what a great moment it was because of the journey that those two went through. I mean, from WCW, Eddie, man, I mean, he was fun. The charisma, Viva la Raza, him always entering the arenas with them low riders and all that stuff. But it's still WrestleMania 20. My God, that moment, it just gives me goosebumps. It gives me tears to this day. I still cry to this day when I actually look at that moment. So, other than No Way Out, WrestleMania 20, that's still like my favorite moment. Even though you look at the other wrestler negatively, I won't bring up his name, but it's still Tis. Oh, it was a great moment. But Champ, I'm gonna let you go. What was your favorite Eddie Guerrero moment?
You know what? Uh, One of my favorite Eddie Guerrero moments, man. First of all, rest in peace to the late great one. That's number one.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest. People love to put him in a box, and I've said this before. People love to put a lot of wrestlers in the box when they went to the WWE, but you got to think about what he did to let WCW survive as well. Because when he was in the cruiserweight division, he was no joke.
No, he wasn't.
He was no joke. I mean, one of the all-time greatest high flyers you've ever want to see. Classic matches, not only with his nephew Chavo, but with Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho,
Dean Malenko.
Dean Malenko, you Juventud Guerrera.
That's the most that cruiserweight division in wrestling history, yo. Like,
Yeah, that division was stacked. And like I said, he gets put in a box with his WWE career, but his WCW career could have been could have been just as rewarding had he not been underutilized, had they not been so focused on the heavyweight main event guys that came over from the WWE at the time. But my favorite one is when he had Big Show in the ring, man, and I never forget he
Oh,
bought out that garbage, that
oh,
garbage dumpster stuff. I don't know what that was, but he sprayed
him
Big
and
Show.
Chavo. Oh,
Yeah, he tripped up the Big Show and sprayed him all over with that sewage. It was a that was an epic event. That sewage was some serious because that was and it didn't even look like sewage either. It was like some mixture of stuff. Looked like they mixed some like they mixed some mud and all types of different stuff in there. It was some crazy stuff. But the fact that he had that hole in his hand just spraying him down like that, that's and the way the segment went, it was crazy because remember it was just like a practical joke. They remember they pulled out the rope in order to trip the Big Show up, and you know how goofy the Big Show looks when he falls. So for
yes.
him to spray him with that sewage was crazy. It was crazy, man. That was the funniest moment, arguably I've seen, man. Arguably I've seen.
Luis.
For me, SmackDown 2004, 2 days before the No Way Out pay per view, Brock Lesnar and Eddie Guerrero had a segment together, for the go home show for SmackDown for No Way Out. And Eddie Guerrero cut a promo on Brock Lesnar or to Brock Lesnar about what the WWE Championship symbolizes, how it because he told the story how in Minnesota in around like 2002 ish, 2003 ish, he got high in the showers of Minnesota, and then he had to be carried out, and he got released from WWE, and then he came back, and then he was talking about that the WWE Championship symbolizes, a better education for his family, more money, more gifts that he can promise his kids, just freedom and showing that he made it. So that's that. Just the way he cut the promo, it just chokes me up because I don't know. That moment, it was real because you can feel the pain in his voice, how hard he worked to get to that moment, and and it chokes me up even more knowing that after the whole show was over. Brock Lesnar, it leaked out that Brock Lesnar actually ran to Eddie Guerrero backstage and gave him a big hug. And like, cause you can look back at that promo and see Brock Lesnar is trying so hard to stay in character, but that was one of the best promos I've ever heard. So definitely the go home promo for No Way Out that he cut on Brock.
Eddie had a lot of charisma, a lot of
Yeah,
people, the fans, they loved him. Oh man, I mean, when I heard about the horrible news that he passed away, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But man, in ring, boy, he was fun to watch though. The high flying, the frog splash, the three amigos. I mean, he just brought an excitement, and of course, when he won the championship, remember SmackDown when he walked down to the arena and when the fans they just celebrated him.
greatest celebration ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, he was a true champion, and the WWE. Oh, I miss him. I miss him a
Hey,
lot, man.
let's not forget the build up right before No Way Out. Remember with him, the war with him and Chavo leading up to that
Oh yeah, remember?
in the
I
Royal
think the
Rumble.
match at Royal Rumble. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
let's
was a.
not forget the Royal Rumble in which he beat the great Kurt Angle.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Man, Eddie was generational. Like, like, isn't it fair to say that for Eddie? Generational. Like, we'll never see a man like him ever again.
yes,
It
That's
was
for sure.
special.
yeah,
Special. He should have been in movies. That's how great he was. So
he
much
was.
charisma, so much versatility.
He was. Um, Now I got to revisit this one because again, last week I was having some technical difficulties. I couldn't hear y'all, but my boy, my man, Stone Cold, Steve Austin. Last week it was 316 week. I told y'all one of my favorite moments, other than King of the Ring, was when he invents how he used the bedpan and smacked Vince in the head with the bedpan. I mean, I still talk to, a lot of the great guys who know wrestling. Jim Cornette, Jim Ross. They say Steve is arguably the greatest, most popular wrestler in wrestling history.
Hmm.
Although you can argue Undertaker, Cena, of course, there are a lot of great wrestlers that you can also argue as the GOAT. I still have Austin as my GOAT. What is y'all favorite Stone Cold moment?
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh man, I love Stone Cold, man. Stone Cold was the reason why I started watching the WWE. I was a WCW guy. I was literally to the core WCW guy. But NWO, all those guys. But Stone Cold got me to watching the WWE. So big up to Stone Cold. I have to say, the moment where the Attitude Era truly began, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion, the Attitude Era truly began at WrestleMania 13. Although he lost, that was that was when the new generation of wrestling stopped. When the new generation era stopped, and that is when the Attitude Era truly began. There were some things in between that had attitude, but that is when he was on his way to becoming the face of the company. Because if anybody remembers correctly, right after WrestleMania, he wrestled The Undertaker, who had just won the WWE title at WrestleMania 13 as well, at A Cold Day in Hell in your house. I don't know if people remember that or not. And The Undertaker won, granted, but him and The Undertaker during that time was the two hottest commodities in wrestling at that point. And that is where the Attitude Era truly begins, man, with the blood and the sweat leaking down his face. And of all people, man, Ken Shamrock, who later became a WWE superstar, UFC legend, special guest referee in a submission match. That is arguably his greatest moment. Although he lost, that was when the Austin era, in my humble opinion, truly began.
Breathtaking
Because
start.
that is when he turned face, and that is when you start seeing what he really could do.
Yeah. And also, Champ, do you remember? You're talking about WrestleMania 13 against Bret the Hitman Hart, in which, by the way, Austin did not quit in that match.
No, he did
He
not
just
quit.
lost conscious. Do you remember Austin with what he said about Bret Hart? That also, if you put the letter S in front of Hitman, you have my exact opinion on Bret Hart
Mm-hmm.
and the promos. And he also talked about how much of a big break Bret Hart gave Steve Austin as well. So, of course, WrestleMania 13, you can't discount WrestleMania 13 and how much Austin had respect to not only Bret Hart, but also the Hart legacy. Rest his soul, Owen Hart, rest his soul, Stu Hart. I mean, the Hart legacy. I mean, if you talk about the Manning in terms of the NFLs, when you think of wrestling, you got to include the Hart family. So, and Austin, man, like I said it before, and we had this conversation with Kieran. He helped save that company
Yes, he did.
when that company was at its low point because they were
Yes.
going to, remember, they had to take loans just in order to make payroll. And with Bret the Hitman Hart, he could have left. I watched the documentary. He could have left and joined WCW. He could have went for a 3 year, 2.8 million per year, which at that point in 96, that's a lot of money. You get 2.8 million, not only that, including royalties. So if you do the math, 3 years for 9 million, 3 million per year. But instead, he decided to stay for WWE at the time for a 20-year deal for $10.5 million. And then go ahead, champ.
Oh, my bad. I was just breathing in, but I was gonna add something after the fact.
But when I look at Austin, man, he helped save that company, even though there's DX, because of what they did. Like I said before, and champ, you would know this, Luis. You know this better. If you did the DX signs back in the day, you would get punished. I mean, if you did them in school, you would definitely be in detention at that time. But when you look at Austin, man, the rivalry with him and Mr. McMahon, and I told Frank this before on the air. No matter how you think about Vince McMahon, you can't tell the story of wrestling without him. It's hard. You can't do it because of how influential he's been to the wrestling business and how influential he's been to a lot of guys, not just Steve, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, a lot of other great wrestlers. And when I look at Steve, man, and I listen to Nature Boy Ric Flair, he, and you can watch this on YouTube, he talked about his GOAT. He said it's not necessarily who did it the best, but who did the most for the company. He talked about Steve. And he made some very valid points about Steve because he retired 38, and of course because of the neck injury that he suffered from Owen Hart. But in a pop culture genre, Steve was that guy. And to this day, I said this, champ. Them Austin 316 t-shirts still hot to
Flying off
this
the
day,
shelf.
flying like crazy. And
Yeah.
with the promos. So I mean, Steve was that dude. But Luis, you want to go?
Man, it will always be when the night when Mankind won the WWF title, just Stone Cold, just willingly, just returning casually, big pop, and just cheering everybody known to man right to the face. Just you get a chair, you get a chair, you get a chair. Hits my V in the face, boom, just casually costs him the title, puts Mankind over him. And then that's the moment WCW dies just casually. He just casually walked down there and kicked ass.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how he just walks away like, eh, I'll see him again.
Because he knows he's gonna get the attention, and also with the King of the Ring, not just when he said Austin 316, I just whipped your ass. The other one, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. When it comes to, go ahead, Luis.
Also, I was gonna say the beer promo. I drunk a beer. I had
Yes.
another beer. 3 beers, 4 beers, 5 beers.
And champ, you
It's so
mentioned the beer
good.
truck in which he sprayed beer on the corporate ministry.
Yeah. Well, he sprayed the Rock, Shane McMahon. That was
Everybody.
the beer bath was something else. But if I could add something to this PSP, if you don't mind,
Go ahead.
imagine this. I want people to imagine this because I hope I'm not the only one thinking about this. What if, and this is a big what if in wrestling history, what if Brett said, you know what, Vince, no matter what you do with me right now, I'm going to keep staying with the WWE. I don't want to go to WCW. Then everything else goes the way it goes. Remember, Shawn Michaels got hurt. So what if Bret Hart is still there and they're able to rekindle that rivalry when Stone Cold is at his peak? Do y'all think that would have been something else, something special to behold all over again?
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you mentioned about Shawn Michaels because again, he wanted to leave to go to WCW. Remember, I told you this, champ. After when he dropped the belt to Stone Cold at WrestleMania 14, and you've been very adamant, Undertaker would have done something to Shawn Michaels. You've told me that, but I also told you, and Jim Ross has confirmed it. They paid Shawn Michaels $750,000
It's a
to do
lot of money
basically
back
nothing.
then. It's a
Yep,
lot of money.
Yeah,
to
that's a
to
lot of
do
money
basic
nowadays.
to do basically
Still a lot
nothing.
of money.
To do basically nothing in 4 years. 4 years. And then and because of two reasons. One, Vince viewed Shawn Michaels very highly, and he was afraid that he was going to go to WCW to join his other members from the clique, Scott Hall, rest his soul, and of course Kevin Nash. So, I mean, you do make a very compelling point in that regard, though.
Yeah, we could have saw another Bret Hart rivalry, all another Bret Hart versus Stone Cold. And because remember, you have to remember during that time, yes, people were watching wrestling, but it was not at the level that it was when Stone Cold really started to blow up. So if you could imagine Bret Hart being in that mix, being a main event guy, and facing Stone Cold, it would have basically been kind of like how it was when, tradition meets new culture. You always, even back in the day in wrestling, you always had the traditional guy versus the guy that has new culture. You saw that with Andre and Hulk Hogan because, Andre personified, the old school territories. He personified the old school territories. And then you had Hulk Hogan, the guy who personified new pop culture, rock and roll, new image, the WWE. So you've seen that throughout history. So it would have been interesting to see the last remnants of the new generation against the Attitude Era in great fashion because we never got, people could speak, but we never got to see truly that passing of the torch moment where the new generation passed the torch to the Attitude Era. We got to see where the golden era, we got to see the golden era, however, which way you want to say. We got to see where the golden era passed it to the new generation when Hulk Hogan dropped the belt to Yokozuna. Granted, Yokozuna was not a face at the time, but he was part of the new generation. We got to see where the old school territories dropped the belt to, they got to see where Andre dropped the belt to Hulk Hogan as far as, the old territory meets the new golden age. You got to see that. You even got to see it when the Attitude Era dropped the belt to the Ruthless Aggression Era. You saw that when you saw The Rock versus Brock Lesnar. You saw that. But in my humble opinion, we never got to see the new generation drop the belt to the Attitude Era. Because the thing is, people can say, well, Shawn Michaels was part of the new generation. No, Shawn Michaels was really more attitude than he was new generation.
But
And
did people
Bret
forget
Hart,
how good he was back in the 90s? Even though,
yeah, he had attitude back then. So he was really more of an attitude guy than anybody. But it would have been very, very interesting to see if Bret said, no, I'm not going anywhere. If you're going to drop me down to, let's say, the Intercontinental, the Intercontinental Milk Card. I'll take that. Then Shawn Michaels gets hurt. Now, okay, come on back to the fold, Bret Hart. We're gonna rekindle this rivalry. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be very, very interesting to see because he worked with a lot of great ones. He worked with Mankind. Stone Cold, that is. Stone Cold worked with Mankind. He worked with The Undertaker. He worked with The Rock.
Oh,
When you
wow.
work with those guys, huh?
Legarius Sneed is now a Titan.
Oh.
I didn't mean to interrupt y'all, but
No, bro. That's breaking news right there.
Nah, that's
trade
big,
Chiefs are finalizing a deal to send franchise cornerback Legarius Sneed to the Titans, per league sources. Chiefs are expected to receive a 2025 third-round pick in addition to a 2024 seventh-round pick flop, while Sneed will sign a new contract. Trade is pending physical for Sneed.
Time out. Hold the heck up. Hold up. Could you read that trade back to me one more time?
Chiefs are expected to receive a 2025 third-round pick in addition to a 2024 seventh-round pick flop, or I'm pretty sure he meant swap. While Sneed will sign a new contract, trend is pending physical for Legarius Sneed.
Wow.
They can just replace him. They could just replace him with the third-round pick.
No, you can't replace a Legarius Sneed in 1 year with a third-round pick.
Not in 1 year, but I mean,
eventually, yes, but not this year. You can't. They got fleeced, if you ask me.
Ooh.
A third-round pick for Legarius Sneed. What do you think, PSP?
And a seventh-round pick swap too.
Flabbergasted because I thought they were gonna try their best to take care of him, and they constantly talk about how they want a three-peat, and you let go of Sneed, who made the Pro Bowl, make All Pros or whatever, and you trade him for what, a third-round pick, and
there's no good corners on the market either.
I mean, if you go get Justice Simmons,
that wouldn't be bad.
Right
at the safety position, but you can't replace Legarius Sneed just out of the blue.
They're gonna attempt to. That third-round pick probably gonna be or probably one of their top picks.
Yeah,
honestly, instead of drafting Xavier Worthy, they might take a cornerback with that last pick or with the first-round pick.
They probably have to in order to help out Trent McDuffie.
Yeah.
They also could. I would love to see them get a tight end because even though Kelsey could still play, he's about to be 35 in October or November. So just in case, get a young tight end for Kelsey to mentor. But this is a pretty bold move by the Chiefs. But as for the Titans, he's just obviously getting his bag. He's getting his money. I can't knock Sneed for, trying to get as much money as he could possibly get. But the Chiefs, though, you better find something in return in this draft because, again, but here's the thing with the Chiefs. They're still going to be the team to come out the AFC. Baltimore, Baltimore has a chance, but Lamar disappointed us in the playoffs. Buffalo.
At least we know you have to take you have to take a cornerback now. Because they were projected to take Xavier Worthy. He can drop to the second round. You have to take a cornerback in the first.
You have to.
They're probably gonna take the guy from Toledo.
They have to. And they already took care of Chris Jones. So what's next for Kansas City? But only time will tell. Let's get into another. Speaking of NFL,
Titans not looking too bad though after Derrick Henry's departure. They're not looking too bad.
Listen, champ, I got one word for you. Actually, two words for you. Will Levis.
Yeah.
Mailman.
Ew. My boy Will Levi's. I'm gonna start calling him that. Will Levi's.
We got a running back one, but I think Champ knows his order.
I don't think I've seen. I'm not doing this one. That's rude. I'm not choosing. Why do I have to cut one?
I know people
Oh,
love Marshall
That's not
Falk.
fair. That's not fair.
Listen, listen. I have to come up with these types of topics. This is
Why do we have to
PSP, bro.
cut one? We can't just like put one as RB3 and call it a day. I agree. Marshall Falk is starting for me,
I love LT though.
but that's Adrian Peterson you put though, and that's not fair.
Look, Frank and I, we had this discussion, and Champ has told me about Frank, and everything Champ said about Frank is fruition. He told me AP is the most pure back, but when you look at Marshall Falk, his route running, man, his
Yeah.
route running is just like pure. But when I look at LT, he can also run a route tree. I think Marshall Falk does a better job running the route tree, but people forget how good them days LT was in 03, 06, man, when he was putting up that touchdown record. Now, in fairness to Marshall Falk, though, LT had a longer period of time maybe working with quarterbacks. He had Drew Brees for a little bit, and he also had Phillip Rivers. Marshall Falk early on, before he went to St. Louis, didn't he play for Indianapolis, Champ? Played for a little bit with Peyton Manning.
yeah, played a little bit with Peyton Manning, but his best years
St.
were with
Louis.
with St. Louis.
St.
The
Louis.
greatest turf with him, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and then Kurt Warner was his quarterback. This is tough though. I mean,
All right, I think I have my picks. Damn.
Can I go?
yeah, go ahead, champ.
You know what, man? I'm gonna say this, and people may disagree, but I have never seen a running back go to a team and change the trajectory of that team in 1 year.
Mm.
1 year. You go from worst to first. I mean, and if you really want me to be honest with you, man, two running backs revolutionized the way they pass catcher, the way to be a pass catcher and a factor in the running game, a factor in the passing game, a factor in the blocking game. Two running backs revolutionized that, and that was Marshall Faulk and Roger Craig.
Mm.
And for 3 straight years, man, people don't give Marshall Faulk credit. For 3 consecutive years, you won Offensive Player of the Year. There you won the league MVP. There you go for 1,000. Only
Yeah.
the second running back in NFL history in order to do that. And you score over 20 touchdowns in one of those years. Not to mention when Kurt Warner went down, man, he was the main factor that kept them respectable. I mean, they could give him the ball in every which way. If he wasn't a great running back, he could have arguably been a number one receiver. He could have been a number one receiver.
Yeah.
And that's not to take anything away from LT or Adrian Peterson, but Marshall Faulk was that guy. I mean, for you to go from Indianapolis to St. Louis and change the trajectory of that franchise in 1 year, people will say Kurt Warner, but without Marshall Faulk in that backfield and them looking at him every which way, there is no greatest show on turf. And in fact, the St. Louis Rams, when Marshall Faulk rushed for over 100 yards, was 29-0 during his time there. During his time with the St. Louis Rams, when Marshall Faulk rushed for over 100 yards, he was 29-0. Now compare that to somebody now who I say every single game, as long as you get him the ball 20 times, they're going to win the game. Compare that to Christian McCaffrey, who does that. He exceeds him by a mile. So with that being said, man, I'm starting Marshall Faulk. You can't write the history of the greatest show on turf and the modernized version of the Air Coryell offense without the great Marshall Faulk. I'm benching LT. because of the touchdown record, not to mention you being one of the most versatile backs in the league. You could run, you could throw, you could catch, and you could pass. I mean, you could move. You was literally the Booby Miles of the NFL. Everybody remember the Friday Night Lights. He could spin left. He was essentially the Booby Miles of the NFL. So I'm benching LT behind Marshall Faulk. Cutting AP. Nothing against AP. He was one of the best pure running backs of his time. But people got to take into consideration this. Got to take it to this consideration. You had to feed him the ball in the running game, and he was not necessarily a factor in the passing game. He was not. He was pretty much a non-factor in the passing game. If it's 4th and long, I'm not looking at Adrian Peterson to do anything to me in the passing game. If it's so, it kind of made him a little bit one-dimensional at a certain point. Granted, he was a big, huge guy who, once you got him going downhill, he could run. But compared to the other two, how versatile they was, not only, like I said, not only running game, passing game, those other two guys, they could block. They could block their behinds off too. Remember that huge block that Marshall Faulk had against the Chicago Bears?
Yes. And
yes.
Also Frank talked about how great he was as a pass blocker.
Yes. He was great as a pass blocker. So Marshall Faulk, hey man, look here. When you talk about guys, the word revolutionized gets thrown around way too much. And when you go from one team to another and change the trajectory of a franchise in just 1 year, and you are the main component of that team that helped them do that, because if you put any other running back in that position that did not have the wherewithal and the talent of a Marshall Faulk, they wouldn't have survived. That team wouldn't have been the greatest show on turf. Like I said, if he wasn't a great running back, he could have been a number one receiver. Mike Martz said it himself that he could have been. His coach himself said if he wasn't a great running back, he could have been a number one wide receiver. And he was their number one go-to guy over 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers in Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. He was getting just as many catches as those guys. So for that reason, I got to start Marshall Faulk, bitch LT, and cutting Adrian Peterson because he was a non-factor in the passing game at a certain point in his career. But hell of a rusher.
I'm going to start LT, bench Marshall Faulk, and cut AP. Champ, I'm sorry. I mean, I love me some LT. I'm reading this interesting stat about LT. I'm reading it from CBS Sports. It was 2003 where LaDainian Tomlinson put together arguably his best season aside from his 2006 MVP season, his campaign. That season in 03, Tomlinson rushed for 1,645 yards while averaging a career-high 5.3 yards per carry. He also became the first running back to catch 100 passes in a season. And here are the AFC running backs selected instead of Tomlinson for that year's Pro Bowl. Clinton Portis, Priest Holmes, and Jamal Lewis. LaDainian Tomlinson was not even selected in the Pro Bowl that year.
Wow. Well, you just educated me on something.
Wait,
wow.
what?
I'm reading this stat right here from CBS right here. He rushed for 1,645 yards while averaging a career high 5.3 yards per carry. He became the first running back to catch 100 passes in an NFL season in a season. The AFC backs selected instead of Tomlinson for that year's Pro Bowl were Clinton Portis, Priest Holmes, and Jamal Lewis.
Who the wow?
I'll send you the link. I'll send y'all the link.
I'm looking right at it. He didn't even know. He made second team, and he made second team All Pro that year. But to be fair, remember that was the same year Jamal Lewis rushed for over 2,000 yards.
Which is earned. Earned. That's earned.
That was the same year that Priest Holmes himself broke the touchdown record.
Mm-hmm.
That's a stacked running back group.
Yeah, scored 27 touchdowns. And if you remember correctly, Clinton Portis, I'm looking it up right now, was arguably one of the best running backs in the AFC at that point, and he had a 1,500-yard season and had the highest yard per carry average with 5.5.
So you're
Hmm.
telling me every running back had a case. Somebody just had to take the lick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody had to take the fall in that one because
and then
you're not
unfortunately it was
gonna
LT.
you're not gonna bench the 2,000-yard rusher who
No,
ran his team to the playoffs. That year, Priest Holmes was flat out on a tear. I mean, Priest Holmes had 20. I think, he had 27 touchdowns that year. He broke the touchdown record that year. No, it was 28. It was 28 touchdowns.
And that was the
And
year in which the
that's
Kansas City, then
ridiculous.
they had the number one seed in the AFC, and they
yeah,
lost
they had the number
to.
one seed, and they got beat to sleep when they faced the
If I'm not
Indianapolis Colts.
mistaken, the 2,000-yard year for Jamal Lewis was also the year Baltimore won the Super Bowl, right?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No,
Okay.
no, they won the Super Bowl 3 years earlier. And ironically, people don't even talk about this. Ironically, during that time, Jamal Lewis was sharing the backfield with Priest Holmes.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous.
So, I mean, so
So
people don't even realize.
somebody had to take the lick, and it was LT.
Yeah, so
Unfortunately,
people don't even realize that Priest Holmes rushed for over 500 yards that year when he won the Super Bowl. He wasn't just a passenger on that team. But yeah, that year, 2003, Priest Holmes had 300 carries, 1,400 yards, 27 touchdowns, caught 74 passes, and over 600 yards.
Mhm.
So had almost over 2,000, had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 27 touchdowns. So yeah, somebody had to lose. Unfortunately, it was LT.
And the other reason why I say LT is because of the Chargers organization. Like even though the Los Angeles Chargers, they're still called San Diego. For him to revitalize that franchise to go from the Ryan Leaf, because they struggled during the Ryan Leaf era, and they drafted him with the fifth overall pick at that time, and how he was putting up monster and crazy numbers. I mean, you can I understand Champ Marshall Falk, because from Indy to St. Louis and how he turned around, how he took it to another level, the greatest show on turf. But LT, man, I mean, damn, that's like kind of hard. But I can't blame you with Marshall Falk though. I
Yeah,
really
and you're
can't.
right. You're
Yeah,
right. He brought San Diego back from the depths. And when I
right.
say the depths, that means the
The
depths.
Doves.
the depths.
Yeah.
It's all the
AP,
way
I
down.
hate doing this to AP. And again, he an OU dude. But unfortunately for me, I have to cut him. But and the other knock on AP you didn't mention, Champ, he had fumble issues early on in his career.
Yeah. I mean, and people I wish I could go back and look at how many times he fumbled that year when he had that 2,000-yard season. So, I mean, he fumbled a lot. Him and Eric Dickerson. Him and Eric
Mm-hmm.
Dickerson. Remember doing Eric Dickerson's 2,000-yard season? He fumbled 13 times.
Yeah, no question about that at all.
Yeah.
But
Even
a
Michael
pure
Irvin
running
said,
back. If you're looking for pure running back, AP is
yeah,
definitely on that list.
he definitely
And he
that dude.
also has the longevity to match up with it, and especially how he goes from every team and still produces. And the one thing about AP, he's still in phenomenal shape, still in phenomenal condition. Now at
Phenomenal.
39 years old,
Phenomenal.
absolutely. Luis,
I'm gonna just keep it short and sweet. Champ said everything I possibly could ever say. So I mean, I do agree with Champ. Um, Also, I don't think after AP hit 2,000 yards, you can see him like really slow down a lot. Like that season really did take a lot out of him, and I think he rushed for like 1,400 after that. But then it was a pretty bad decline after that. He had a little resurgence in Washington, but I don't think Marshall Falk or LT
oh, he
had.
was good in 2015 because
He was
actually
Yeah.
good
he
for
was.
y'all. He was good for y'all.
No, he was good for us, but in
Minnesota.
2015, do you remember when he came back from the suspension
Yeah,
because of the off the field situation that he had,
yeah.
and he was able to produce, and that was with Teddy Bridgewater at
At
quarterback.
quarterback, yeah. That was before Teddy B got concussed, knocked the hell out too.
Yeah.
But I don't think LT. Correct me if I don't think LT or Marshall Falk had like the decline AP did too. Like AP, he It went down pretty fast, in my opinion.
Well, they was running. To be fair,
They ran him
to
to the
be fair,
ground, though. To be fair,
I was just about to say
ran him to
they
the
ran him
ground.
to death, and I hate to
Right.
say that
Like,
I hate to use that phrase,
But that's the truth, though.
but they really ran him to death. I mean, he unlike the other two guys, you didn't have someone to take the attention off of him. I mean, he rushed for more yards than his quarterback threw for in Christian Ponder. So you could imagine if you can imagine running for more yards than your quarterback throwing for that is a feat in itself. Only two people probably ever did that, and that was him and Orenthal. Well, him, Orenthal, James Simpson, and Eric Dixon. Those are the only two backs I ever see rush for more yards than their quarterback threw for. But
Right.
for you to do that is crazy. But like I
And
said,
normally, yeah, and normally running backs who get that amount of carries, that's the point of no return. Eric
yeah,
Dickinson's one of the few running backs to ever do that.
yeah,
but
and
I'm
yeah,
looking at AP's carries. This is ridiculous, man.
yeah, they literally used to run. They teams those two guys, Eric Dickerson and Adrian Peterson, their careers were almost parallel. They were the version of each other. They were they were a version of each other. I mean, the only difference was one came from SMU and the other came from Oklahoma. Because if you look at their peaks, they literally got ran to death. I mean, now I will take Eric Dickerson because after his 2,000-yard season, he came right back and rushed for 1,800. So, I mean, and he didn't have a quarterback, and he didn't have a quarterback that year either. I mean, not to mention Eric Dickerson still has the record for most carries by a rookie with over 400 carries. You carried the ball 400 times during your rookie year. You carried the ball 400 times your rookie year. That just goes to show you how inept that quarterback position was.
One last one, and we're gonna
I
wrap up the
love me
show.
some
This,
Eric Dickerson, by the way. Love him.
Yeah.
yeah,
Love watching film.
this is one we did last week, but again, technical difficulties that we had last week on the show on my part.
Which one is this one? Oh man. Oh man. Oh man.
Champ, I know you have Mariah.
I have Mariah, man. Like I said, I love Mariah. Man, there was a point when I was a young guy,
He's a young
and
champ. Young
yeah,
champ.
young me, in my teenage years, and as I got grown, I would say that's all I heard on the radio was Mariah Carey. Whether it was with So So Def, whether it was with ODB, whether it was with Jay Z, whether it was with Busta Rhymes,
Cameron.
I, yeah, Cameron. I heard her all over the radio. And let's not forget Lovable. I love that video. But man, I'll take it Mariah Carey, man, but I can't take nothing away from Janet Jackson, man. Can't take nothing away from Janet Jackson. And I must say, man, a lot. I mean, Rhythm Nation, Control, Scream, you name it, man. That was you
All
can't go
for
wrong
you.
with either one. What you about to say,
All
PSP?
for you. All for
Yeah,
you. That
all for you. Hey man, I get so lonely. I
yeah.
mean, you just can't go wrong with either one, man. And hey, you know, hey, I gotta take Mariah, but Janet Jackson, I salute as always, man. Hey,
Luis.
I'm going Mariah Carey, man. Just because her two projects, Butterfly and The Emancipation of Mimi, are two of my favorite albums by a woman. So I go Mariah on that accord. Nothing against Janet. I just like Mariah more.
I'm going with Janet because Janet has a really underrated voice, but her dancing, I love a woman who can dance, who can entertain. Um, I love the All For You album, Come On Get Up, All For You song, Control, What Have You Done For Me Lately. I just I mean Mariah is one of my favorite singers from that album Butterfly, of course, you got Breakdown featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony. Of course, you got the Honey track. Um, but I love Janet because singing, I think Mariah's a better singer, but Janet is good enough, but the dancing. And that's the thing that separates me. I mean, I love someone who can also sing, but who can also dance as well. And I just love her and rest his soul, Michael Jackson, the king of pop. I mean, remember the music video that they did? So, hey, shout out to Janet. Love Janet Jackson.
Hey,
Anyway,
not to
folks.
mention the
Oh, go ahead,
prettiest
champ.
smile, not to mention
Yes,
the prettiest smile you will ever see in this industry, man. I
definitely.
don't, hey, when it comes to pretty smiles, man, Janet has the prettiest smile you ever want to see.
You know, the great Jennifer Lopez was on that song. She was in that music video. That's the way love goes as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
You
and
teach me a lot
remember,
today, PSP.
yeah, remember J Lo. You know, remember in Living Color, she used to be one of them dancers back in them days.
Oh, yeah, I knew that part, but I didn't know she was in that video.
Yeah, I think so. She was definitely in that video. I you gotta double check, but I know for a fact that she was in that video. But
Yeah.
hey, listen, man, you can't go wrong with either two. Can't go wrong with either two. But anyway, folks, that concludes the rest of the Sports PSP podcast. Unfortunately, Frank couldn't be there, but couldn't be there for the rest of the show. But always appreciate having him on. Talk to him. He'll be back for next week's show. Fellas, any final words?
So UConn, we're going back to back, no doubt in my mind. And as always, the agenda stays strong. Jesse Bates, Defensive Player of the Year. Just know I called it. Jesse Bates, I'm your biggest fan. Notice me.
Champ, any final words? And I know that you love yourself some Columbus, Georgia, the greatest city to ever be.
Yeah. Hey, PSP, man. Hey, that's why you my brother, number one. And number two, man, look, thank you for letting me come on this late. I mean, caught you in the middle of the
I was
show.
shocked. I was shocked. I thought you were busy.
No, caught you. I got right off work. I said, I got to make at least the second half of the show. So I came in to set up real quick. I was like, click the link. But man, thank you for letting me come on the show as always, man. It's a
Anytime.
privilege and an honor to be on your show all the time, man. It's like it's highlight like Friday. We call it Friday night highlights, man. Hey, and number two, man, like you said, shout out to Columbus, Georgia. 56 good degrees down here, a little bit of rain, but man, it's beautiful outside, and I can't wait to get back outside tomorrow, man.
Yeah. And unfortunately for New Jersey, terrible 4 inches of rain. It's gonna be raining like hell on Saturday. So if you in the
Ooh.
Jersey area, make sure you stay
I
safe.
love the rain.
But I'm gonna be indoors because I'm gonna be working from 12 to 5, and then Sunday hopefully I get a day off. Probably gonna be at LA Fitness playing some basketball. So, some good old times. But anyway, y'all know where to follow me at, folks. Y'all know where to follow me at Sports PSP. Make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and IG Sports PSP as well as TikTok Sports PSP3. Appreciate Luis. Appreciate Champ. Appreciate Frank for hopping on to the pod. Next week, we're definitely going to discuss some more stuff. And remember, folks, March Madness. Go check out March Madness. Go check out Anthony Edwards' dunk on John Collins because that was a sensational dunk. And also, we're almost about a month away from the NFL draft. Can't wait. And Champ, your pod. We're going to talk about the NFL draft and all that other stuff. Are we?
Yes, we are. On April the 5th, Undisputed Gold Podcast returns 2 weeks prior to the draft. PSP, I wasn't even gonna bring that out, man. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Just had to remind you.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. That was hey, you get some points in my book for that, bro.
Always, always. I learn from the best. I learn from you and everybody else. And on that note, y'all enjoy y'all Friday night. Stay safe. Be easy. God bless. And we is out.